for something new, and then and then we start watching it, and we're all like, "That's not like Emmanuel." But at this point, I suppose it is.
Oh, but okay, yeah, I guess it's true. It's like if it chooses films
Very
that aren't
Emmanuel.
very. Hey, Emmanuel, yeah.
Hey, dude.
Hey, Emmanuel. Emmanuel's just gone through it. That's it.
Did you just finish watching the film?
About 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay. So okay, it's
I see why you still look a bit pissed off.
yeah, it's a bit. It's not the. Yeah, we have a lot of comments for this second film.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
There's definitely a lot to talk about.
I mean, I don't want to blame anyone. It's just that it's
There's
not
one person to blame.
At the end of the day, I did pick it. I did go, okay, we'll watch it, even though she did warn me.
There she is.
She didn't.
that perfectly timed cough as well. Right?
She said, "Are you sure you want to pick it?" She didn't tell me obviously what was going to happen or how messed up it was, because she can't remember most of it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's not a nice film, but it might be interesting.
Some would say it's quite unnice.
Yeah, it's like pretty traumatic in the same vein as Antichrist, one would say.
I finished watching it like 20 minutes ago, and I just feel dirty. I feel like I need a shower.
He's still not taking his hat off.
No, it's become my comforter.
Yeah, it's, you know that meme I shared earlier about after watching a horror movie, Rob wants to watch a cartoon or something. It's quite apt in this case for the film. So that's why I wanted to watch something like Mulan after watching this, because I wanted to
which Mulan did you watch though?
Oh, the original animated version.
Oh, okay, cool.
Make it worse by picking the live action one.
I gotta say, I do like the idea that Rob's watched this and gone like, my head needs a hug.
Don't worry, Rob. We will virtually hug your head.
Introduce the film.
Do you know what? I didn't. Well,
Huh?
there was a few like not major bits, but just bits that made me go. No, I forgot. And
Wait,
I was
can
saying
you
to
say
Rachel
things-
before, I was like, you know what? Like with the themes and
This
stuff,
why
there
you-
might be
why you
something that you
suggest
get on
it?
with. And I got like halfway through it, and I was like, I'm so glad Rachel didn't want to watch this.
Oh yeah, Rachel would have been. Oh, I can't
Oh,
imagine.
I said not to watch this with Rachel. I said if Phoenix, you can try watching that with Rachel.
Yeah, that one's okay in comparison.
No,
The
man, Phoenix is a breeze compared to this, man.
No, he asked about
Like I said before, I think
No.
this film makes the thing like seem like ET. Doesn't it?
It makes what seem like ET?
The thing. It's in terms of like what happens in the thing. It's horrible as it is, but at least it's just like a science fiction creature feature. This is a lot more darker than that.
See,
Oh,
Ebba described it to me before, but I'd like forgotten what I'd forgotten like most of what she said, and so she was just sitting there just watching my face throughout it, and like we're having like a good time and all that, and then like there's like a kind of like a long shot on his face, and then the eyes stay consistent, but the faces change, and I kind of just
Oh,
no.
Right, okay.
Of all the scenes.
Actually, I mean, truth be told, I kind of knew the story about of The Skin I Live In already when I watched it, because someone's doing a comparison to like other stories, like on a TV series. It's slipping my mind. I'll remember it later. But they played it in chronological order of the story. So the things happened. Then afterwards they describe like the actual events that actually progress. So I kind of knew. I kind of saw this film. I was like, I think I know this film. I feel like I've watched it, but I haven't watched it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's this film. This really fucking disturbing film. Oh, just rough. That's.
This is the first film I think since we started where my impact score has like done like a fishhook, because it went so far along that it became a 10, and then it was like, but I really dislike this feeling. And then it went back to like a 6.
See, I can't give it less than a 10 for impact because I've never forgotten it, and it has traumatized me in a way that is something that has to be like acknowledged, because it's like props to the director and the script. It's just like I can't not take it out of my head ever.
That's the thing, like when cause Ed was like, "So what did you think?" And I was just like,
The fuck.
Yeah.
"I don't know." And Ed was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's the thing,
Uh,
because in the week we were talking about how it's like kind of similar to Old Boy, but I think the difference for me is that in Old Boy it's like, I don't know, like you just have you have so much more empathy for him, because it's like, man, this is really like this kind of revenge is really out of line of what he did. And it's like what happens to him is like it's something that's definitely wrong. So you kind of have like less moral grey area on it all.
Yeah,
Whereas
but-
with this, it's like, man, this is a really horrific thing, but he's also done a horrible thing, and it's just two horrible people doing horrible things.
Yeah.
And then you've got the thing that annoys me as well is that you have like 2 hours of that. And then it's like they just go, all right, enough of that. Shoot her in the tit, and we'll be done with it. And it's such an unsatisfying end.
Only does he shoot her in the tit? Hides under the bed and fucking blind shoots her in the tit. I
It's
was
such
just
a
like,
camp scene.
come on, stop it. Is Humphrey in today? Is he?
No, he's not. No.
But what's worse is I think we've all scored it higher than Phoenix. I think
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't.
I think Phoenix got like 7.8, and like this has got like an
If
8 point
Phoenix
something.
if Phoenix ends up at the bottom of the round, that is an injustice.
Yeah, I think it wasn't fair to put them together because they're very different films with a slightly similar thing that links them. So I feel that Phoenix is kind of going to be a bit like the second fiddle, because everyone tonight's going to want to talk about The Skin I Live In, but we should devote time for the Phoenix.
On that note, since we're all here now, Emmanuel, why? Why did you
This
do
isn't-
this?
This isn't the first time where we're going, why have you put us through this?
This is the thing. I didn't know what I was putting you through.
It's not the first time you said that either.
Fair enough. I wanted
Excuse
Camilla
me.
to come on, but she's not feeling too great.
Yeah,
She
Because
said,
she's just watched the film.
you run away.
sorry, let me change the camera. It's, but now it's too bright. Anyway, I picked it. No, Camilla said the only reason she suggested it because she thought it'd be interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
It certainly is. That's definitely one of the strongest things about it.
It's somehow become Pat's favourite rom-com, which is even more interesting.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I messaged Camilla yesterday, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Why did you do this?" And then we're talking about if it was the most disturbing film we've ever picked, and she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry if I've like upset Pat." And I was like, "Pat loved it. He scored it a 9.5 and bought the Blu-ray." She was like,
What
"What?"
makes you think
What?
Pat would
Serious?
like- Pat is the one who likes The Exorcist for the comedy value. It was more than anyone else. He'd like it more than.
Well, I think it was. I can't remember who it was that sort of compared it to Antichrist before I'd seen it. I was like, oh fuck's sake, I've got to sit through this again. Then I sat through it and I was like, this ain't that bad.
Yeah, it's still fucked up.
Like the themes of this one probably are a great deal worse,
Yes.
but I feel like it was better made. It was a far better made film. It was more competently done. Whereas Antichrist was just a film of shock value and not much substance.
Yeah.
And that's for me was a massive difference. Like if Antichrist had the sort of writing that this one did, I think I probably would have liked it. But they seem to just want to go, oh, let's get the the hedge trimmers to the yeah, you know what?
See, now I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Reference to both, isn't it?
Oh man.
But no, I actually I don't want to say had a great time watching this because I don't think that's an apt way of putting it. But I very much enjoyed it as a work of art.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, to carry on, like, I'd like to hear more from you later as well, Pat.
Yeah, sorry for
it's-
taking over your time.
No, I enjoy it. It's
Should say
great.
that at the end of interviews.
We'll let you know. We'll call you. Don't call us.
Yeah. Never hear of them again.
Right. How do we want to structure this? Do we want to talk about Phoenix first, and then?
Oh wait, I
Ghost
wasn't
and
finished yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Alec.
I was trying to give you a bit of structure.
I wasn't finished.
I'm trying to give you some
This is my
structure. It's fine. Go for it.
start. And that is beeping, so I'm going to cut that off in a minute. It's cookies. But anyway,
Oh, is that from you? From your side?
can you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was happening in this kitchen, but yeah, if it's you, then that's all right.
Oh no, something's going to blow up. Oh, let's hope Romania hasn't put a candle on underneath something flammable.
What?
No, I
No
just feel
candles
like
on, right? You haven't
What'd
lit,
you say, Ben?
you haven't lit any candles under anything flammable.
No,
Good.
no. I'm not going through that again. Being homeless for a week, that was horrible. What you call it? Yeah, the reason I picked Phoenix was because it was the only film after, I swear, days of looking that had something slightly similar in terms of I say some of the themes from the synopsis, from the summary anyway, that wasn't made in like the 60s or like, yeah, something like that wasn't made in the 60s and actually looked like it might be okay and decent. There's not many films that involve some kind of plastic surgery or reconstruction of the face or changing of the face or identity, like, yeah, past the 60s, to be honest. And the other ones that they like ever so slightly similar are just either trash or I haven't come across them yet.
I mean, there was another film
I
you
mean,
could have picked.
I think you could say the same film.
Space
Uh,
Odyssey.
I don't want
Yeah,
to pick that
yeah,
film.
Why not?
It's nothing like this. It's like
No,
if you pick a film that's so far removed.
it really is. You're right about that.
All right, yeah, okay, fair enough. But like, that was only the.
Huh?
Oh no, I was gonna say this was like that was the only other film that was like surgery. That's like facial surgery to change who you are. I guess that could make the feel because like I watched Phoenix and I was like, you could have paired this off with like, as I was saying to Rob earlier, you could have paired it off with like Schindler's List and it'd been more correct thematically. And I was like, all right, that would have been like good, like artistic choice. I get why you picked it. I just feel like, did you have to do a double bill right now with this? Because it didn't quite make sense. I was like, it's like, it kind of like, I get it, but I don't get it, if you get what I mean.
Phoenix actually reminded me of a film that I saw at London Film Festival called Sick of Myself. And it's like, it maybe reminded me is like the wrong term, but I thought it would have made a good double bill with it because Sick of Myself was kind of the opposite of it. Because it was about like, I think it was like Norwegian or like Danish or maybe even Swedish or Finnish, like somewhere around there. And
Such a
basically,
Kurt Russell.
it was about like this really toxic couple that were just both horrible people. And the woman started taking these pills to make herself ill so that she'd get more attention. and then it all kind of like it turns into her becoming like the face of this like disability inclusion focused ad campaign because she's made herself so ill. And I was thinking
Oh
that's
man,
actually quite a good like antithesis of Phoenix, like the whole thing of like changing your identity and the whole thing with the relationship as well. But yeah,
interesting. But yeah, it was just yeah, because obviously I was not going to pick Face Off. That's an interesting shout though, Rob. That sounds, man, it's kind of hard. But anyway, but yeah, because I was struggling to find something that I know, like you said, I didn't have to pick it now. But once she suggested it, I really wanted to pick something that could go with this film. And I wanted to pick it next. And yeah, this was as close as I got, even though it's not close after watching it. I still find it interesting that they're both films about someone who lost their wife. However, in The Skin I Live In, this obsession of not just the wife but the daughter ends up being the death of him. Whereas in Phoenix, he doesn't seem to really be mourning or caring that much, so he must not have truly loved her. And all he's really is after her money, but he's also an idiot. But I'll go into that later because I don't believe he's that much like. Anyway, there were things that annoyed me about Phoenix, but at the same time, I really liked certain things and what they were doing with making it. But oh yeah, yeah. Maybe I should have said watch Phoenix second. I don't know.
I'm glad you said watch it first.
Yeah.
I think
So I got the
Phoenix.
one-
Sorry
Go on.
about
I was just going to say, at least I got the one I didn't like so much out of the way first.
I think Phoenix is more interesting than we're going to give it credit for, though, because I think it's quite easy to read it as like a film about him being an idiot, but I don't think it is because.
Oh yeah, nah.
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna agree with you, nah. And one point, like obviously we'll get into it more, but someone else, because me and Camilla were talking a lot about Phoenix, and someone in this other kind of article about it was talking about how, because there's of course a lot of commentary on what was happening at the time, the anti-Semitic views, the war, lots of things. And they were saying one of the interesting things that they did in this film was one of the main characters of prominence throughout the whole film, even though he was getting so many things wrong, he was not Jewish, but he was a crook. And one of the key things on that, his whole character, was that was a whole thing about how the Jews were portrayed at the time, especially by Hitler and that party and the people even before him spreading anti-Semitic views before he came into power, that they were crooks out to get your money. And sorry, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, they blamed the Jews on the whole depression that they had in Germany, like before that, and the fact that the one who is German is the crook and out to get her money. So
That's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, a few things in this film. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, the way I was reading it is as if like it was basically just like an allegory for Germany after the war, because like you kind of had like this country that didn't know who they were and they were in denial of the last few years because their identity had basically just become the Nazi party. And obviously after the war, you kind of got like a slow realization that it's like that Mitchell and Webb sketch where it's like, are we the baddies? But you kind of have had that like stretched over like quite a long time. So yeah, I was thinking of it in terms of that, and I thought it was really interesting that they did like the thing with Berlin sort of like building itself back up in the background, because you've kind of got like you've got him sort of meeting her again, and obviously like the surface read is like he doesn't recognize her, and he's sort of like treating her as a new person and sort of like as part of this scheme that he's got. But I think the whole way through, he does know that it's her, and it's just like him playing out his denial that it's her. Because if he accepts that he knows that it's her, then he has to face what he's done to her, in the same way that Germany had to face the last few years of being led by Hitler. And then towards the end, where sort of like Berlin's kind of like built up again, that's when he's able to like face his denial and sort of acknowledge the truth that I think she knows as well, that he knows it's her. And then that's where you have the scene with the piano. And I thought that was really interesting.
Because I had like the same read of he's stupid. He like she looks different enough that he doesn't recognize her, but she also looks just enough like herself that she could pass as a doppelganger. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? This premise is stupid. And we just went the whole way, and I was just like, why are you doing any of this? This is dumb, man. Why? And then I was talking to Rob about it, and then we had that conversation, and it was like, oh, it's because he's in denial, and it's all like kind of like a microcosm of what Germany's going through. And then I watched it again, and I was like, fuck, he does recognize her. You can see it in his face. He sees her, he recognizes her, and then he kind of goes, fuck. And he looks somewhere else and pretends not to see her. Because she's so emotionally fragile at the time, she like that's what she's most scared of, and so she just takes it. She just accepts that that's just what's happened, and she's like, "Oh fuck!" and she like runs off and stuff. And it was like that just fills in all the little gaps where I was like, "What are you doing to?" Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, all right.
Saying that, now that you've said that, that makes more sense. It still annoys me, not annoys me. I would have preferred it, and I know this is not the style of that director's filmmaking in particular, but I would have preferred there be, I don't know, even if it's a little scene, to make it just a little more obvious that he can't he's in denial, like he's denying it, like he doesn't want to actually acknowledge that, because there are quite a lot of few things in the film which are done in quite a vague way, and it gets me thinking about it and gets us like talking about it, but sometimes for the wrong reasons, because it makes, if any of the people who were watching it were also aware of the book or the first film that was adapted from this. So both of these films, they were adapted from French books.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Phoenix was from one in 1945, round about there. Return from the Ashes, but it's the second adaptation of it, more loosely. The first one was adapted in about 1965, I believe. I think so. And then for The Skin I Live In, the book is based off of, it was in 1987. It was called Tarantula. Both of the books are quite different, though what I would say is that with The Skin I Live In, I think the movie is actually better than the book. Whereas they did a lot with not much. We can get into that later. But going back to the Phoenix, it's not that it's better or worse. It's just a different interpretation. it's like going with a similar start point, but going in a different direction and focusing very much on, like you said, the kind of German Nazi after the war allegories and stuff. So using that as a kind of vessel for something else. But yeah, I think I just wish they kind of made certain things like the denial more obvious, because both me and Camilla and Alec as well are going, what? Why?
I wonder though. I wonder if that would have been more obvious if we were German and like that history was more like in our consciousness.
This was something I was saying, because I was like, the reason like I appreciate this so much is because like I don't because I was educated in England, I have no knowledge of Germany between 1945 to 2000. So I was just like, I didn't have any awareness of this time period, and I was like, what is happening actually? And like when Rob said it, I was like, oh fuck yeah, that does make sense. And then I was like, oh yeah, no, okay, yeah. But I was just like, oh yeah, I guess 1946 was a thing that like, they didn't just go, Hitler's dead, we're normal now.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone we voted for.
And what you said makes
Let's do
sense.
the Autobahn.
The Autobahn.
Yeah, it's a big barn in Germany. I can't be fucked. It's the Autobahn, big motorway.
Yeah, it's like a super motorway.
Autobahns
that's
fall out.
Interesting.
But
I forgot
back to the
about
point is this. I wasn't there. I feel like there was like a point where he was like adamantly, like very obviously denying who she was when she did her makeup and dress, and like she walked really close to him, and he was like, "No, I have to deny that you're her because like it's too creepy for me, or it's like too fucked up." And like there was a point that's very very obvious. It's like, "No, you're not her. You can't be her because if you were her, then I would be guilty." So that's like because she walked up so close to him, and it's like it was about to kiss him, and it was like, "No, you can't be her." It messes up, and he kind of like runs away because like it messes him up too much, because it's like, no, you're dead. You just look like her. You're my wife pretending to be my dead wife. It's just like so weird.
And I think that still, now going back, since you said that, it's just reminded me how, even if I like realized earlier on he was in denial rather than a little bit later, I still would have been annoyed by this guy. Because I'm just like,
what's he doing? Every scene, every time she does something. No, you don't walk like that. You have to walk like this. No, you don't wear things like that. You have to wear them like this. No, you don't do this. Even when she matches her handwriting like pretty much identically, he's like, okay, yeah, that's good. Write stuff else. Like, you know, keep writing other things. And it's like it's just constant pushing back, and it's constant. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. That's for him. It's not that she's not doing it right. It's purely for his benefit, and it's like. Just having that context, I think, sews that up, and I think this is why it's really like. Obviously, I get not everyone can watch it twice in a week, especially with a double bill, but you always get more from the second watch. And going in with that context, so much started making more sense, and it was just like, I don't know if you need more, because watching just his performance when he sees her in the club, I was like, nah, he fucking recognized her. He fucking did. He's now pretending that he didn't. And I was like, you can just like see him. You can see like it's not even like a big facial expression, but you just in like kind of watching where his eyes go, and how like his face when she sees her, and he does that look of, and then he like starts looking away, and it's like, yeah, I know what you just fucking did. You don't know what you just did, but I know what you just did. Like,
and it's so annoying because this guy, actually, let me come back to this, because we can come back to how annoying it is. So to give more context, because Camilla did do it in GCSE history, so she knew much more about it. well, she knew a lot about it, and we was talking about it. She would be speaking now, but of course. So basically, I'm gonna give a rough timeline. So the film is in 1945, as we know. In 1938, I think, if I remember, 1938, either Hitler came to power. No, 1939. Yeah, I think he came to power round about then, but 39 is when things kicked off and the war really started getting going. But before that point, before 38, there were still anti-Semitic views and tensions raising up and ramping up quite a lot. And in 38, even though the war hadn't started, actually, I think Hitler came to power in 34. The key point that it kept coming back in my head, the doctor who's gonna like do reconstruction is just like, wait, you was in London and you a Jewess came back here? Why? And that's such a key point, because obviously at the point, the racial tensions were so high, even without them doing, even without it having got to the point where they were literally, because I think the year after, they started grabbing Jews out of all their houses, out of the mosque and everywhere, and just killing them on the streets, or like wherever they found them. It was so risky for her to come back. But instead of asking her husband to come to London to live there or something, she went back to Germany and risked her life to go back home to her husband. Lene stayed in London and only came back in 45 when the camps were liberated, to look for her own family, and then eventually look for one of her best friends, Nellie. Otherwise, I think that's mainly most of the context. I guess to give a little bit more, when their friends started stopping to see them, they were doing it for their own benefit. Of course, this is in the height of the war. Like, if you are even associated with a Jew, that's it for you. And as we know, they a few months before then, people stopped serving them, people stopped coming around. They went into hiding in winter 43. And obviously, as we know, October 4th, he got arrested, divorced her, gave her up. October 6th, she got arrested and got taken to the camps. So, of course, the film is now roughly a year on, autumn 45. But I think that, I can't remember if I was going to say anything else, but point is, the fact that she came back to Germany, it kind of gives even more kind of, I guess, understanding to her character. Yes, she's very disillusioned that she can have any kind of life with someone. Lene keeps telling her, he gave you up. It was just like you were saying, we're not German. But for anyone who was German, that would have been so obvious. You would not get off scotch-free if you did not give up some Jewish people. He divorced her, gave up her location, and physically led them to her place, because otherwise they would have just shot and killed him. They weren't going to just trust his word. He had to be there while they took her, to make sure it's the right person, she is that kind of deluded that yes, it will work out. It will work out. And obviously, unfortunately, her like going, no, I can't go to Tel Aviv or Haifa to kind of start a Jewish community, because of course, before that point, there was no real Israel. All the Jewish people lived scattered all over. And this was
Didn't they
like,
say Palestine though?
yeah. Obviously, as we know, Palestine, Israel, after that's still going on today, as we know.
Yeah.
But they were setting up, obviously, they were rebuilding a Jewish community just for Jewish people, especially in those two places. Obviously, Tel Aviv is still popular till today. But after everything she went through, Lena as well, and all the pain, because I think she lost all her family as well. So the only person she had left was Nelly. And Nelly then was just like, nah, I ain't going back with you. I'm gonna make a life with this guy who gave me up to the Germans. And I think me and Camilla were talking about how after everything and the situation, it was just too much for her, just too much pain, and she couldn't do it anymore. I thought that could have been built up better, but anyway, yeah. Hopefully that gives context. You probably knew a lot of that, but hopefully that fills in some of the gaps.
I mean, there is still like, I could understand Nelly because she was still disillusioned that her husband still loved her, and that's why until she got the divorce papers and the letter from her friend was
Lene.
How do you pronounce it?
Lene.
Oh wait, okay, maybe because I read it wrong because it looked like Leah or Leon. Okay, sorry.
Lene.
Lene. Okay, Lynn. Okay, her friend.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't pronounce it.
Just call her Liam.
Liam. Okay, because I was upset with. I'm upset that she committed suicide because she shot herself, and I was like, she didn't seem like her character didn't seem like that. Her character seemed very headstrong, sure.
Yeah.
And she had this, I feel like the letter should have just said, I've left you. I went away because I need to leave because I need you. I'll leave you to your own devices, but I can't stay here anymore. It's impossible for me to stay here anymore. I'm surprised such a headstrong character would have like committed suicide instead. And I was like, it didn't seem like her, right? You know, it did. The character.
I fully believe that the last person that she has in this world is Nelly, and she's trying to go, look, let's start a new life. Like, I'll bring you back to, like, kind of make peace with, like, what you had here, but eventually we're gonna go to Palestine. Like, we're gonna like rebuild this, and then all that Nelly cares about is getting back with what's his face,
Johnny or
and
Johannes.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake! How did I forget that? All she cares about is about what she had, and the past, and her husband, and she's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How do I communicate this to you? I have to physically show you the documents, and she does that, and Nelly is still clinging to this, and she's still going, this is better than nothing. I don't have anything, and what I had in the past was something, and I need to get back to that. And the only way I can do that is through Johnny. And like, if that's the only person you have left in the world, and she can't hear what you're saying, and she was in the fucking Holocaust, and it's like, I don't know how else I can get this into your head. Here's the physical evidence of this happening. He gave you up, and she's still doing it, and it's just like, man, what do you do? Like,
yeah. also to add to that, and I think this was, and maybe there's certain more German subtext to it. And maybe on a second watch I would get this more, but it was very subtle how they did it. But basically, her headstrong character is an act. It's what she's putting on to kind of be strong and kind of keep both of them going. There's multiple points. There's multiple points throughout where you can see through it, and you can see that she's hurt. Like, for example, right near the beginning, she's trying to like talk about something good, you know, oh, there's a plantation, there's this and that. And she's asking about her family. She's like, well, yeah, Thingy's dead. Thingy's dead, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about this. I don't know. It's really hard for her to go through, like, to tell her this. But she also can understand it because she's also lost her own family. Like, this is really hurtful and painful, and she's trying to distract herself. She's trying to do something to get her past it. She's trying to keep herself busy. And if I'm not wrong, in Germany, like having that kind of trait, being really strong and resilient through like really hard stuff and putting that act up is really important. It's something that you need to do to keep going. And even though like she lived in London for like quite a few years, she still grew up in Germany and probably still has those traits. So even though I didn't see it coming either, kind of like what Rob was saying, maybe if we were German, it would have been more obvious and would have made a bit more sense. Like, yeah, the headstrong act, I knew something wasn't quite right, and now it all makes sense, kind of thing. Maybe. Yeah.
Ben, as a German, can you comment?
That's rude.
Dude,
What, he
come on.
is German.
Yeah, but like you could have said it better, right? It's like,
Ben, you're on mute. Oh, there you are.
Mr.
I was gonna say-
Huyendorf, would you deign to comment?
I'm a rubbish German because I don't speak German. No one in my family's lived there in 3 generations. Pretty rubbish indeed.
That's
Wait,
okay.
3 generations. That's definitely before the war, right?
Yeah, it was. But yeah,
So
it just
that's
it
okay.
was in that regard.
Look back into your ancestral memory and just
This isn't Assassin's Creed, okay? We can't just live in our ancestors.
But I did enjoy like how it was kind of like paced and structured. Even if it's very slow and kind of like you have to kind of do a lot of work to try and understand this film. Like you guys have said, you need to kind of watch it, not only just watch it twice, but kind of like go back and rethink what you've seen, because there is so much there than it might seem at first, because you think, oh, just this guy's 1, an idiot, and 2, she's kind of like, what is her motive? What is her goal? And she's going a long way around to try and do what she could just like go on and leave and have a new life for herself, but she doesn't. She kind of just wants to kind of not only prove herself, but kind of like test and kind of like understand what her husband was thinking and the reasoning before everything that transpired before. So there is so much in this film in terms of like, there is nothing is what it seems. And even if what they do is kind of a bit problematic and strange and in real life it wouldn't work, it's still kind of like Rob says, a good metaphor what's going on with Germany at the time, because everything seems to be quite a reflection of reality in a way that it would normally transpire. If you know what I'm trying to say, I'm not explaining it very well, but as after the war, everyone's not in their right frame of mind. Everyone's kind of like downtrodden and kind of like worse for wear. And even if their homes weren't destroyed, they're probably like self-images at least, and being associated with one of the worst and evil parties in the world, and this thing that caused the war by living in the same country they originate from is just, I don't know what that would do to a person really. What would the general public, how would they comprehend something like that?
Is it that she? Is it the same thing that she's going through? Is it like, I'd prefer to go back to before this all happened because I don't know how to move forward with this. I don't know how to reconcile these with what just happened with how we go forward. But that's, Rob, I don't know if you want to take this one because I feel a bit unfair.
Rob knows this thing.
I think that's why it's a really interesting dynamic between them, because from his point of view, you've kind of got like the perspective of, well, you know, like, I don't want to address this, and the person in front of me isn't addressing it either, so we don't really need to, kind of thing. And then from her perspective, it's kind of like, well, if he's not addressing it, then I don't have to deal with the feelings I've got about it either, which are obviously quite complex and horrible. So while they're both sort of in that stage where kind of the bad things happened, and they're kind of giving each other the option of going back to before it, they're both happy to, even though one's done a really awful thing. And then later on, where you've got that thing of like where she played, where the piano comes in, she starts singing and whatever, and it's like, so I read that as the moment where he's going like, you know what, like, we've spent all this time sort of rebuilding ourselves, and we're not going to get over this until we acknowledge it. And that's when you can sort of, well, that's when I think that he feels he can sort of acknowledge the truth that he's known all along. And I think that's really interesting in the context of a whole country who's kind of given power to this really evil bloke who's then caused all of this trouble, and you've then got to try and like reconcile that. And I think what's really interesting as well, just on like a historical thing, is that Germany have been through that process in like sort of, you know, 40, 50 years, and now they're a reasonable country. And I think, and then you've got us, and we're still not over the empire yet, and you've still got people going, "Oh, wasn't that a wonderful thing?" And it's like, no, I mean, we could also go through this process that Germany's gone through.
I mean, it's more complicated than that, I think.
No. We won. We haven't got to go through any kind of transformative process.
One is like a very subjective thing, isn't it? You know.
Yes, it is.
I just realized your name, Crispy Chicken Skin. Oh man.
No.
Okay, well, yeah, because it's Phoenix for the crispy chicken part, and the skin is. Yeah, well, yeah, you know, you get the point.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's better than you think, but it's more shocking at first. You think it's going to say,
Crispy Chicken Skin I Live In would have been a very different film.
Oh,
just a really greasy person.
Why did you make me so delicious?
Maybe it's like the guy who paid like the price of what was it, like $70,000 to have a convincing dog suit.
Oh, I've heard of this guy. Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah.
About the Tiger Man.
Huh? No. Oh no. Sorry. Just to go to a side for a moment, if anyone doesn't know, I think he is Japanese. From what I remember, very
statistically, it's likely.
He's that he's from Florida, either way. Yeah, I was about to say.
Very, very recently, the Florida man. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If it's something really outlandishly weird, he's either Japanese or he's from Florida, America. Both are craziness.
Yeah.
Someone spent a lot of money doing something fucked up and perverted. He's Japanese. Just like, I knew already.
Well, in this case, it's not perverted. It's just kind of strange. Let me explain. Let me explain. Because there's nothing sexual about it at all. No, seriously. So this guy, you know, like you had those kids who were like, or even in The Simpsons, you get this. But what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a dog or something silly. That thought never left this guy. And when he
I'm on his side, man. If he can afford to live like a dog, then go ahead.
So as a grown working man, he's not married. To be honest,
Really?
more context to the fact is he probably was in a situation where he thought he'd never be able to get married because of how sucky things are in Japan. So he's like, you know what? Let me just go for one of my dreams I wanted to do. I've got these savings. I've got nothing to do with them or no kids. Let me just spend money to get this company I know to make me a convincing dog suit. And he did it. And now sometimes in his spare time he goes around as a dog.
I mean, like, without taking too much of a piss, all that sounds like he's just on furry plus mode, and like he's furry pro. And I'm like, you sure, man? Do what you need to do. Just like you spend your money and effort to do what you want to do. I guess that's up to you. I just like stay with. I mean, I just don't want to meet you in like a dark alleyway. That's all I care about, right? It's like,
I don't. Also, I don't want my dog to meet you in a dark alleyway either.
If you see
man.
videos of him, he's convincing. He looks like just like a regular Great Dane, and he's even got like the walk down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Talking about
Look
identities,
okay.
I find it interesting how she doesn't see herself as Jewish or a Jew.
Mm.
So even though, and this is another part of, I forgot to put this in, this is another part of her, I guess, how she sees herself, her disillusionment, her kind of confusion of identity, or how she sees her own identity. And also adds to what the reasons why she came back to Germany in 38, feeling that she could get away with her heritage, because her mom would be the one that's Jewish, given that you're only really, well, not only, but you tend to be legitimately seen as Jewish by the Jewish community if your mom is Jewish and you're half Jewish. But anyway, so her mom was Jewish, but she passed as a German because she had dirty blonde hair and blue eyes. But she, of course, didn't grow up as an Orthodox Jew or practicing Jew. So she didn't go to the kind of temple. She wasn't an Orthodox Jew. She didn't practice it. But she didn't know it. But she lived so long denying that part of her. Even after the camp, she was still denying that part of her and wouldn't acknowledge it to start a new life with that heritage in mind.
Mm.
And which is painful. That really sucks, like for her. But on top of that, so some more stuff to it, which really, I get that Johnny's in denial. I got it. He's being an idiot.
Johnny can't
But-
decide.
This is the thing that was just like, you can't be this much in denial. So a lady who turns up, like we already know, she called out his name. He pretended. She keeps calling you that, insisting that. Sorry, I'm just venting at the moment, but I'm just going to vent. She keeps insisting to call you Johnny when everyone here only knows you as Johannes. Fair enough. You've got people who go by Johannes at that time. And just like people now might just call a Robert a Bobby or whatever, people sometimes give people nicknames or shorten their name or call them by something else, even though they didn't say you can call me by that.
I feel like it's personal.
Just because he's wearing a hat like that.
It's not personal, don't worry. Though I do find it annoying saying that when I see it happen to other people. And anyway, not going into that. But this lady keeps calling you Johnny, no one else. Okay. You've got that. Strike one. This lady has dirty blonde hair and blue eyes, just like your wife. Strike two. This lady will have a similar voice. Maybe she might not walk similar, but she's also trying to get really close up on you. So you're just like, why is this random lady trying to get this close to me? Okay, something's a bit off. Her handwriting is exactly the same. And this is the point where I was just like, past this point, I was just really annoyed at this guy. I was like, can you just stop? Just stop. It's when she starts writing and she perfectly replicates the signature, normal handwriting speed, never seen it before, apparently. Now, of course, in these days, he would have watched her time and time again write letters to like different family members or different people. She's writing this letter. The way her hand, her body is, everything that's happened would be a splitting image. That should be the moment that shocks him, that goes, crap, it's like I've seen a ghost. But he's just like, no, it ain't her. And I'm just like, dude, if you're doubted, if you really denial, you want to really be denial, double check yourself, check her arm. Check her freaking arm.
He knows, but he doesn't want to confirm it. That's why he doesn't
wanna
check
do
her
it,
arm.
Yeah.
And then it's
Pretty shitty husband, isn't he?
I mean,
But
he sold it out to Nazi,
Yeah.
so yeah.
this is yes, he's such a crap, freaking despicable guy. Then on top of that, one of the parts I forgot to mention, up to that point, she calls herself Esther. Now, Esther is one of her freaking family members. That's gonna look similar to her. Esther is either dead or can't be found. As Lena says, Esther, I think, was the one she didn't know about. She couldn't find information.
She wasn't sure about, and then she found it like the day after or so.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Esther was someone he would know in her family. He didn't even want to even say, oh, wait, you look similar. Wait, Esther. But no, because obviously he's still in such denial. And on top of all the denial, if he's that in denial, why is he going to keep going? You know what? I'm going to keep saying to the person I'm denying that she's my wife, that, yeah, I just want to get her money. I'm going to do all this plan, put you through all this, because I just want to get her money, you know? Not something like, I'm so depressed, like because the thing is, it's just under a year. He should be freaking depressed, like proper depressed, like finding it hard to do everyday life. And the fact that a woman who comes up looking like him, that should be a straw that really triggers him, even if he's denying that it's her. But if he was truly sad, if he truly loved that woman, if he was truly depressed, he would not even be going through with a plan. He would not suggest this plan to this lady that he's saying is not his wife, though he knows it's his wife, making himself seem worse and worse and worse. I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're not saying that you want to get the money to take it to help some people that were like messed up by this. Because if anything, like you were saying, at the time, the Germans who did not believe that, who hated the Nazis, who did not agree with any of their stuff, wanted to disassociate themselves with them. a great way to disassociate yourself with them would have been to be like, you know what? I'm going to try and get this inheritance and actually help some people with it because, you know, like.
He doesn't. That's not something that is even in his mind because he's been living. He didn't like get a payout or anything for giving her up. He got to keep his life, but he hasn't gained anything from that. He's a fucking loser. Like he's got a shit job and a shit hole in the floor apartment. He's not concerned about he's not concerned about disassociating himself to that extent where he's like going to help Holocaust victims. He wants to disassociate himself by getting her money and fucking off somewhere else. That's how he's going to disassociate himself because he's a selfish person.
Exactly. And not just that, a selfish, despicable person, halfway through this plan, if he truly loved her, if it was a case where he was forced to give her up through torture and all sorts of other stuff, he would have broke down and not been able to go through with it because of how much he loved her. But he obviously didn't love her enough. And on top of that, he's a freaking idiot. So just like, so sorry. So yeah, rant done. But that's why it just kept pissing me off. Because after that point, I'm just like, how could you do this? Like, how? My guy.
I love
Like-
that you always end your rants with like a full stop statement.
I'll say, what were you laughing at earlier?
I didn't want to draw attention to it. I know I did a bad job of that, but it was just that Pat sent a shirt that made me laugh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
in
no,
the group chat.
It made I saw Simon sort of laugh at it as well, so then I sort of started.
Oh
creasing up.
man. Oh man.
It was especially when he was like, "Oh yeah, it's John's new shirt." I was like, "Oh, you!" I just couldn't keep my lips. I couldn't see you smiling.
It
Oh.
made me laugh so
Back-
much because I saw Simon laugh and then get his phone out, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what he's laughing at." And then I opened that, and I was like, "Oh god."
Enjoy the level of focus we give to these.
Sorry, I was paying attention. Don't worry. It's just that it just got distracted slightly.
That's all right. I was just ranting about how despicable of a guy he is while also being a complete and utter idiot.
Yeah, because like,
'Cause-
I was just gonna say, it's because like I mean, literally, he sees this woman, and it's like, you got to pretend to be my dead wife. Don't worry, I'll give you like half her inheritance, which is like, it wasn't like a small amount of money, especially during that time. But I don't even know what he's doing. It's like, once you get the money, you disappear. I will take the money and I'll disappear this way. We'll never see each other again. He has no disregard for this person. He doesn't even know who that person is. And it's just like, yeah, I just need the money and I need it quick. Because he was working in that in the Phoenix cabaret club. And it's like,
Phoenix Cabaret Club.
That was a cool part of it. I kind of like that part.
My only question on sort of like a technical story level, or like I suppose more of a historical level, was how she would have had such a big inheritance. Just because like in Nazi Germany, well, most Jews got their money stolen from them.
that's very true.
So yes, her family.
I can explain this very well. Watch. That's true, actually.
Basically, yeah, because Camilla said this as well. She's basically saying how they would have had their assets seized by the German government. However, even though their money was stolen, their assets still existed.
Right.
Oh, okay.
After Hitler was killed, the war was over, the camps were liberated.
The
The assets
spell
would have
had been broken, and the people returned to sanity, and all became well, and then it
Yes.
became Germany again.
So yeah, the assets would have been unfrozen or unseized, so to speak, and then obviously her and Lena went to collect their families combined kind of things
Oh yeah,
together.
did she go to Switzerland for like a second? Because I think she went to
Yes.
she either went to Switzerland or she like went through Switzerland, and like Switzerland has obviously the banks for everyone. And I was just like, all right, yeah, just go get our money back then, because because she was like, how are you
forgot about
paying for this? And it's just like, yeah, it's your inheritance. And I was like, oh right, because yeah, obviously because like everyone else is dead because of everything, and she's got the access to the money to pay for all the surgery and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
And Lena's family as well would have been at least decently comfortable because they had a maid. They had a maid as well. Obviously, that one maid she trusted because she knew she was anti-Nazi. She hated the Nazis, so she was the only one that she trusted to kind of be the housekeeper at the time. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about the Switzerland part in that way. But yeah, that also would have been obvious to German at that time. It's just like, oh yeah, of course. They went there to sort out their affairs, get their inheritance, make sure everything was in their name before they came back to Germany to get surgery before leaving to Palestine.
That actually adds like quite a sad layer because it's like the war's ended, you finally got your assets back, except for this one German guy. He's a bit like that Goofy meme. He's just going, "Oh, I can do it again."
It's so sad.
Yeah,
It's
very
just
sad.
it's just like, Nelly, please wake up. You have
like she was like, oh no, like for her, because like this is like when she saw herself in the hospital. Well, when she was in the hospital, she couldn't really. She saw one other girl looking at all the pictures and all the stuff, and she was already like, "Oh yeah, she's like me. Is like I'm like broken, as a person because of like all my stuff." And like she's recovering and she's doing the surgery to make herself look as original as possible, not like a new, because like she denied going through like, you could be a whole new person. I won't be a new person. It won't be me. And it's like, oh, that hurt to just like say out loud. And it's just like, oh, because like, yeah, she's trying to go through it. It's after, because that took a while to do anyways, because you need to recover and stuff. Because when she's trying, when they finally got to like the main city, when they were back in Berlin, and she was walking past and she saw like this broken glass on the floor, and she saw like that was definitely like probably like the most, it's the best scene, I think, because not just because it has such a it's meaning, like she is the shattered pieces of herself, and the new reflection is not really her anymore, but it is her because it's obviously her reflection. And she looks into it and she's like, oh, like sad-eyed and stuff. I was like, I wish I could give you a hug. But it's like, it's like, Nelly. Damn, man.
To add something else, I just had a thought. Yes, I know, linking the films again. In Phoenix, the wife seeing herself and then killing herself in front of her daughter. I was thinking, with the kind of what they had gone through, what their future may or may not be, what they would have to do, maybe for Nelly, that like illusion of a life back to something similar to before this had happened as if it didn't happen was the only way she could keep going. Because I was thinking, she did, with how she felt, she did well not to actually, she didn't kill herself or self-harm. But maybe that was because she was holding on to this possibility so much that she didn't want to like harm herself or kill herself. But that makes me worry about what's she going to do after the film. Obviously, it just ends with her just walking out. But she has no family. She doesn't have Lenny. I'm sure if she wanted to, she could like the only thing she can really do. I mean, she has options. No, the only option she has, because London is still anti-Semitic, even though they're not killing people necessarily. They won't associate themselves with people. Her only real choice is to go to a place she doesn't know, she's never been, to make a new life in the new Jewish community. And will she even do that?
Well, the thing is, she does have the assets, though, and she's not giving half of them to Johnny anymore because she's, proven herself to be who she says to be. So, it represents her character arc coming to its like kind of natural end, because she's no longer clinging to what she had. She can fuck Johnny off and go, actually, you're not getting any of my fucking money, and she can take her money and she can go somewhere else. And it's like, yeah, there you go. That's what Germany can do. They can move forward rather than be in denial.
That makes sense. Cool, thanks.
Oh.
I mean, like, it could end with her just buying. I just like headcanon wise, it's like she bought the Phoenix Cabaret Club and it now belongs to her, and she's Johnny's boss. That's probably the only better way you could think of it.
So, what are you doing here? I'm your boss. What?
That's
What?
the only way that's the only way you could probably, yeah.
Her revenge. The Phoenix's revenge. You will work for me and slave for me after you gave me up. Oh man.
Germany didn't really move past that, actually. They just kept spinning the wheel.
Oh no, Rob's gone.
I'm still here.
Okay. Oh, it's just a picture. What was I gonna say? Oh, I can't remember the other thing I was gonna say related to what you were saying, Alec. But can anyone explain to me one of the most puzzling shots to me? I don't get it at all, because it throws things off in the Phoenix. At the end, after you see the reaction of Johnny fully accepting that this is my wife and allowing himself to realize it, she looks at the group of friends and their expressions weren't what I was expecting. Like, you had one guy who was literally looked bored. And if it was modern day, I would say he was on his phone, but he must have been reading a book or messing with something in his hand. There are some other people who looked confused, and other people who looked like they saw a ghost. And I was just like, huh? Sorry, you going to say something, Simon?
I was going to say, I mean, they're not really her friends. They're just people they knew. I mean, it's friends like this. They were her friends, but it's like they're just people that were friends with like Johnny. You know what I mean? They didn't really care about. They say they cared about her, but they kind of like, it took them so long to realize, like, oh yeah, she's here and stuff. They didn't try to like send her letters or try to message her or anything. They were like,
I will. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, because like, if they think she wasn't taken to the camps and she was one of the ones that were lucky enough to escape from the situation, right? They should have tried to send her like a letter or something, right? But no, they all went, "Oh right, yeah, you're back now. Yeah, it's great, it's fine."
No,
Is
no, no.
is
It
that not
wasn't
what?
that. No, no, no. So, uh, give context. When the friends slowly stopped seeing them coming round, people stopped selling to them. These were some of the friends, not all of them. These were some of the friends that stopped seeing them in 43 for their own safety, so that they wouldn't be arrested and killed. The other ones that you don't see here were either killed off or Nazis, so they didn't come for a reunion. They knew she was arrested because Johnny told them. Johnny kept in contact with them afterwards, so he obviously probably didn't say his part in it, but maybe he did. But they knew she was taken to the camp. When they said we knew you knew you'd be able to come back, it was more that we knew you'd survive.
Oh,
Basically, even though the chances of someone coming back were probably 1 out of 5, they were hoping that she, out of all the people, would actually make it back. So when they were meeting up and stuff, it was a genuine kind of because obviously it's still tensions is still quite high. They're not going to go and look for her because, as far as they know, she's in the camp or she's dead. And if she's in the camp, if she's out, Johnny would know. So they're waiting on Johnny to tell them, because Johnny was her husband. So I don't even think he told them that he divorced her, because they didn't seem to be none the wiser, or
That's
find
a
it,
really bad look.
or find it strange that he was looking forward to this reunion and that they were hugging so thingy. They would have acted more awkward, but they were just really happy to see her, but also being sensitive. But this is the thing. So sorry, I'll finish, then you come in. So I get that. So in public, they've met, but they're in private now. So they're just kind of talking as friends, trying to catch up, trying to just see how they're both doing. And as Thingy was one of the friends were reminiscing about the old days, about how they used to sing and play together. And then she's like, you know what? Yeah, let's go. They were going on looking forward to hearing her sing again, and seeing them two play and sing again like they used to do. Like there was even a piano in the place where they were hiding, in the boat. Like this was a thing they always did. And they were looking forward to this. They were going in with smiles and expectations. After she actually sung, and bear with me for a moment. Like from their point of view, Johnny looks like he's overcome with emotion, that he stopped playing and he's got tears in his eyes, like, my wife's really back. But
she's pissed off.
Instead of being, oh, they're looking sad but slightly happy that they could like hear her voice again, even though it's not the same because she's gone through a lot. You've got one guy looking bored, like he doesn't want to be there. One like some other people looking confused, and another person looking like a ghost. That scene makes it look like they were in on the plan with Johnny, but everything up to that doesn't suggest that they didn't think this was actually her. Because in private, they would have just been like, oh, so yeah, Johnny told us about the plan. We'll get some of the cut as well. Just to like explain it's the least we can do kind of thing, you know, blah, 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 because Johnny, you know, suffered a lot, X, Y, and Z nonsense. But that didn't happen. So the direction of that last scene with their faces made no sense to me.
I don't.
Sorry.
Oh, Yasmin.
I didn't notice the person who looked like they'd seen a ghost, but I was thinking that perhaps so the whole thing with like their denial and her going back to Germany, I was wondering if that was kind of like a little thing where sort of, so Germany is the place that sort of like persecuted her based on the kind of, I guess, the race that she is, and sort of post-war, the people that were persecuting Jews weren't there anymore, or at least they weren't in power anymore. So I wondered if like the motivation to go back to Germany, or at least some of it, was to kind of not sort of not to kind of confront it, but partly to sort of go, well, this is the place that tells me that I'm not good enough. So if I go back there and now I am good enough, then I can believe it myself, kind of thing. And there's a big kind of like there's a big sort of there's a lot of like there's a lot of baggage involved in that. Like if you're going for that motivation, and then when you get to the end, and like I said, I didn't notice the person who looked like they'd seen a ghost, but to have that kind of like big ending and then just be met with like nonchalance, it's like, man, you've gone back and you've tried to sort of like become a person there finally, and you're still just met with indifference. And yeah.
Wait, so yeah, so she's gone through all that to think she made better of herself, or that she proved that she's a what, how did you put it?
Well, even just a person, because I mean,
Yeah.
in Nazi Germany, Jews were sort of seen as kind of like, well, animals basically, and yeah, to kind of to have the war end and then go back as kind of like, this isn't something that is this isn't something that's going to like relegate me to a second class citizen anymore, kind of thing. So you're kind of going back and thinking, I can finally be a person here, and like the sort of, at least in power, the threat of these people isn't there anymore. And then yeah, I don't know. I thought it was quite heartbreaking that you had that scene, given that she's put herself in like a really difficult context where she's got to kind of she's got to deny that she knows what she knows in order to have any kind of life. But she's also in a country where she can maybe prove to herself that she's a worthy person. And yeah, you've got that big ending, and then everyone's just like, yeah, I don't really give a shit. Yes. Yeah. I thought that was super sad. But yeah, I didn't notice the person who looked like they'd seen a ghost, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was so weird. I think one person genuinely was just like,
Have you seen a ghost?
I was just like, why is your face like that? And why do you look like you're bored doing something on your phone? It's just not. I'm so confused. Why do you look confused? You shouldn't
Yes,
look confused. Like, I get it if most of them looked indifferent or looked sad or something, but none of the expressions made sense. And I was like, were the expressions more of a metaphor for what was going on and the emotions going through the husband? Because that's the only way I can interpret it.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because maybe that's what the husband saw as a reflection of himself. Because
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah.
I'm waiting for Simon to realize he's muted.
He looks like he's
I was
gearing up to
muted.
say something.
I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to like interrupt too much. It's just. I feel like, I don't know. I still feel like they were just because they were just there for the sake of being there to say, yeah, everything's back to normal now. Yeah, we won't. We'll just ignore all the shit that you went through, and we just think it's all regular, all happy sunshine and all happy thoughts and all that shit. It's like, I mean, we can't. People did go through that like experience, And even if, because I'm thinking back to see, I'm trying to reimagine it in my head. I was like, I think there was like the guy off to the side that was bored, like Emmanuel was saying. I was thinking, oh yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, it kind of looks like he was like just not enjoying being there, even though he's like drinking on like an afternoon and like try to enjoy like enjoying the company of his friends. Yeah, but it's just like yes, I just kind of couldn't quite like picture the scene. But it's like, yeah, I guess they just try to go back to just status quo. But I guess like we can never go back. We have to go forward because of everything that's happened. And I'm going to divorce Johnny now. Is essentially what that scene is, hopefully. Because, you know, he was playing along and it took him a good like minute to stop playing and realize, oh shit, it actually is my wife. It's just that scene is just like
I guess that's another thing though, right? Because it's, well, yeah, you've got those two sort of gone through that process where they're possibly able to sort of face their denial now, but the friends haven't yet.
I mean, like, no, that's true. It's like because like because it's like the scene before that when they were at the station and they were like, oh yeah, we've seen each other for a long time, yeah, and it's like, wasn't there was it me or was there what I can't remember if I'm misremembering it, but there was like one of them, yeah, all right, yeah, hey there, hey then, and it's just like, yeah, I know we haven't seen each other. My daughter's dead, and he says it so nonchalantly, right? And it's like, why would you just? I guess you could bring that up now, but it's just like it feels like a very awkward situation to say it like that. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like this. The whole group of friends was a bit weird in that particular situation, anyways. But it was like maybe there's something we're missing. I feel like, but maybe it's just the context that we need someone to explain to us. Because I'm afraid that someone's going to say no, it's because of this and this, and we go all of us are going to go like, oh right, that makes so much more sense. But until then, I think it's because they were just pretending to be friends and trying to go back to the status quo of being friends again, if you can. You know, it's just a bit weird for that situation.
Maybe what we need is a bit like what happened on the Let the Right One In upload, where we were talking about how like grey and miserable Sweden was, and then a Swedish person commented saying, "Yeah, no, you are right." So we need a German person to.
So what? Okay, cool.
Oh man. But, like, you are right, Simon. Like they are, and Rob as well. Like they are pretending. They're trying to. Well, some of them are, not all of them, but like some of them are pretending, are trying to keep up some kind of appearance of that we can go back to a similar way that we were before. And I get that. That's what I thought it was all happening anyway. Because at the end of the day, if like fair enough, you didn't want to get killed, but I don't know. It was a hard situation, so I'm not gonna go into that side of it now. Except for the husband, he should have not given up his freaking wife and died, just straight up. I don't freaking care. Anyway, yeah, all of that makes sense. It just doesn't help me. Yeah, it still doesn't help me make sense of the last scene unless I look at it from a non-literal point of view. Of yeah. Anyway, sorry.
I do think with that scene you have like the aspect of this is Germany, like who haven't yet gone through, or this is like the side of Germany that hasn't yet gone through the transformative sort of process. But then you also got the thing of like just surface level reading of they're confused as to why Johnny stopped playing, and it is like look looking at her like something's really dreadfully wrong, and then they're just like confused looking at him. But then you also got the thing of like they sort of represent this. They represent like a part of like Johnny's plan. Like Johnny's plan is that they kind of like meet up by chance, and then because they have the friends go like, oh yeah, that happened, they just met up by chance. It doesn't look suspicious when he tries to scam the money. And I guess like just the fact that they look confused and like something's not quite right, like that's kind of like the achievement that she's like had by doing that. She sort of put, I don't know if she's put stuff into doubt necessarily, but like they're kind of confused at what the situation is, because it's just kind of like, why aren't you happy that your wife's like singing and stuff? And he's like just looking at her, just like, I don't know.
It should remind me of like again the earlier scene about it, where one of the girls who are like, "Oh, it's so good to see you back, Nelly," and she like gives him a hug. He's like, "Look, you're Johnny. He's over there. Go on, go hug him." And it's just like, but it felt very forced, if you know what I mean. So it's just like, I can't.
Oh, you mean the Phoenix Club?
Yeah, well, no, because like no, it's like at the end of the station,
train station.
Yeah, and she was like, "Yeah, your Johnny is over there. Go hug him." And it was like, it's such a weird, awkward feeling about it.
Felt staged.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It felt so staged. I was just like, was it just bad acting, or was it bad acting on purpose because of the context that we're probably missing? And it's just like, I don't know. It feels like, it's like, you know, the more I think about it, the more I'm slightly confused. But go back to watch that scene now. Shit.
I feel like it was bad acting, but from the character, because it was an awkward position. They're hugging someone that they literally distance themselves from because of her heritage, and they felt some part responsible or guilty that they didn't stay by her side through all of that, and they distanced themselves. So they're hugging her now, but do they actually really, should they get to hug her, or should they not? Even though I really miss you, I feel really bad because of what I did. But wait, your husband's there. Go hug him. Go hug him. Like that's great, ain't it? That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You hit it on the head. It's bad acting because they felt awkward, but they did genuinely think that, oh, but at least you have Johnny. You can go back to Johnny, because they don't know what's happened.
Sorry, I just had to. Sorry, I got distracted. Alec, do you still have your Christmas tree up?
Yeah, it's a year-long Christmas tree.
Cool. I was slightly confused by the what looks like Santa Claus hanging himself on the side. I was like, is that a Christmas tree? I was like, okay, maybe it's up to you. It's up to you. I
know it's up to me. Fuck you.
I just got really confused by it. I was like, wait,
it's gonna be Christmas again soon.
Like, fuck off, will you?
What's the fucking point?
He's telling you don't work in retail anymore, isn't it?
I'm only gonna be putting it back up again in like 10 months. So like, fuck it. Might as well just, be ahead.
Fair enough. I just like, you're one of the few people who I know that can keep up Christmas decorations up all year.
Well, to be fair, there's a flat about 15 minutes down the road to me who put up like big exaggerated Christmas lights. Not only have they not taken them down, they still light them up every night.
Oh man.
I mean,
electric bill, man,
I think they're the reason why our electric bill was so high.
Are they piggybacking off yours?
I think they're using everyone in Tilbury's electric for them lights. Bloody hell.
Right. So, considering it's now nearly midnight, was that a decent segue into doing Skin I Live In?
Yes.
The
Because
reason
I
our
mean-
electricity bills are so high is because a Spanish surgeon is really good at surgery and he just won't stop.
I got some
And it-
crispy chicken skin.
Do we want to say anything else about Phoenix, or are we going to like be comparing them? Like,
I've got really nice Chinese rice chicken soup.
okay,
That's not really the context we'll go for, but sure.
cool.
So-
Well,
Oh, yes. One last thing. Sorry.
no, you had your last thing.
No. Sorry, it's just a quick one. Does anyone know what general direction the book took instead?
No.
Okay, so skipping the first adaptation of the film, because that was pretty close to the original book anyway, so I don't need to talk about that. With the book, it happened in, of course, it's French, so it happened in France, and
Deal breaker.
A Jew, what?
Deal breaker happened in France. Fuck France.
Alex going to drop his scores now.
Oh, man.
Straight.
A Jewish lady fell in love with a chess player in France after, I think her first husband died. So in this one, she actually had a biological daughter. Similar to in this film, she got taken off to the camps. When she got back, similar kind of situation, her face was a bit different. At first, her and her second husband and her daughter didn't recognize her at first. But it was just like, huh? And then eventually she like said, not after too long, she's like, yes, it is me. I am actually Nelly, whatever kind of thing. And then it took a really twisted turn where, bless you, the second husband and the daughter conspired to kill her to get her inheritance. And there's a whole kind of convoluted story about how the daughter was very bitter, seemed unsure whether she wanted to kill her or not. And the mom was trying to kind of talk to the daughter to understand why she felt like that. The husband had left the house for an alibi and rigged a gun to shoot her once she opened a safe to get some documents or something, like to claim back her own inheritance. And she went to he was on the phone to her, said, yes, go to the safe, put this combination in X, Y, and Z. Luckily, this a long-standing crush, some guy Alex, whatever.
Some guy called Alec.
Yeah, some guy called Alec had a crush on her. And he was also kind of an investigator or something. He came over because something didn't seem right, he felt. He came over and just managed to help her get out the way before the gun shot. So the bullet missed her. But the second husband thought she was dead, so he was smiling. He came home and they put someone else's body in the tub. I don't even know whose body was in the tub, but someone else's body was in the tub that looked kind of like her. And he was caught, the second husband was caught fiddling with the crime scene. And then the actual police turned up and arrested him for like attempting to murder his wife.
You know what, man? I'm smiling, but internally, I think my emotions are more closely matched to Simon's face at the minute.
I feel like it's like even more as complicated as the Count of Monte Cristo. Fucking hell, Jesus Christ! It's like you might as well just like add some more like a play, a gun, more another woman's family. It's just like, yeah, that's such a complicated plot line. Fucking hell. It's
So yeah, I think I liked Phoenix in the way it was more, it was simpler but not simple, but it was easier to digest but hard to understand. But that was just anyway. Huh?
I think the thing I want to make sure that I say about Phoenix is like, I think it's easy to misread it, and I say that as someone who misread it. And I think like the you know, there's a fucking lot going on under the surface, and like, yeah, as Rob said to me, like, if you go in just kind of looking at it like completely like logically, yeah, like you're gonna end up missing a lot. But like, I don't know, there's still a logic into it, but like you kind of need to I think that having that context is integral to it. But like, because I think he said like it doesn't you didn't think it was like intended for an international audience. You think it was intended for like a specific nationality.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because, you know, like what we were saying about kind of making it more obvious and that kind of thing. Like I said in the week that I think it maybe could have benefited from like an extra half an hour just to explore sort of Berlin a little bit more, and I think that would have teased it out. But I wonder if you kind of go in sort of with some kind of like knowledge of what Germany was like in that time period, whether it's like first hand or from your granddad or whatever. I think maybe everything would fall into place a lot easier.
To start off with Phoenix, and not Phoenix, the skin I live in.
Okay.
Phoenix, I think.
Yeah, no,
How
what Phoenix?
could you?
So why did Camilla choose this?
Oh, I already said that. She
Oh.
thought it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I told Rachel the synopsis, and she said, "Isn't Emmanuel a Christian?"
Wait.
That's a good.
What's the synopsis? I didn't even read it.
Oh, I didn't read it. I just sort of gave her a quick one about how it's about a surgeon who, as a revenge ploy, gives someone a sex change so that he can have sex with them.
Oh.
It's so fucking hell.
Isn't he Christian?
Right, we've been going for like an hour and a half. I'm gonna have a fucking piss before we start on this one.
Yeah, I might do as well.
All right, cool.
Piss
Oh,
break.
you didn't tell Rachel that. No, go Alec. You didn't tell Rachel that Camilla suggested it.
Didn't tell Rachel anything.
This film is, you know, this second film of yours is it's rough.
I had a hard time as well. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I remember what this, because I said I kind of knew about this film beforehand because someone did a video analysis of it, but like in actual in chronological order. But the reason why they were doing it is because they were comparing it to the TV show Nip Tuck. Nip Tuck is about it's about
Topping, yeah, I know what you mean.
But I remember watching it. I remember watching that about the plastic surgeons, right? I just realized, oh shit! I also remember why I kind of knew about this story is because they actually did it in Nip Tuck, which actually aired before this. Because Nip Tuck
They
was
did
in
this in
2000.
Nip Tuck.
Yeah, because Nip Tuck was in like 2005 to about 2010. This movie is made in 2011. There's a very similar storyline about someone who has the physical plastic surgery stuff, and how like you have the doctor guy who it's the storyline is not as fucked up as this version. I don't know, this version is holy shit, because like I don't think like HBO or whichever TV series are like, yeah, we're crossing this out. Fucking hell, this is too much. Make it a little less traumatic, right? It's like just scribbling out like lines. Like, but there is a story in Nip Tuck about someone who goes through plastic surgery and like they go through like the transgender stuff. But it was like, because this is the very Greek story of Galatea and Pygmalion, where the guy is like making his perfect woman in its own sense. Because it literally, because like that's this. I feel like that's where that storyline came from. It's very Greek, but like the story in Nip Tuck is also very similar to that, because like there's a guy who created his perfect woman, but he couldn't love her because like it's like his creation. He could only see his handiwork. He couldn't really see them as a woman. And this one is like, well, we'll get into that in a second. Everyone back now, probably.
That's where I was kind of like wrestling with it a bit, though, because it's sort of like part of it is that revenge plot, and I suppose that's well, I don't know, both of them are quite but in terms of like the feelings that they create in me watching it, but I couldn't decide whether it was a revenge plot, and it was just like, this guy has done something awful to my daughter, so I'm gonna make him a woman and I'm gonna do something awful to him. I couldn't decide if it was that or whether it was, I'm such a good surgeon that I'm able to do this, and if I'm gonna do it to anyone, it might as well be somebody that's done something like this to me. I couldn't decide whether it was like sort of like a fetish thing for him, or whether it was a revenge thing, or whether it was like a messy mix.
messy mix.
It was a messy mix. It was initially revenge. Then, while after he was getting into his revenge, he thought, you know what? I'm going to put you to use as well for research I would like to do for my wife's sake, in her honor. And then he started falling in love with his own creation and started forgetting himself, what the creation used to be. And he truly fell into his obsession of bringing his wife back in some form. And take that where you want it.
Also, can I add, am I right thinking that for the good part of the film, I can't remember his original name with V, does he have Stockholm syndrome for majority of the movie?
Yes.
And it's only when he sees the photograph of himself as he was, he kind of like unlocks his past memories of who he is. And then he's like, oh shit, I need to get out.
There's a part just before that, which is a little bit, but to touch on that quickly, you remember how there was a part where he was saying the opium helps me forget.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he started doing yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
He was consciously doing what is a technique in method acting as well, which is like forgetting oneself to replace yourself with this other person.
For this new identity, yeah.
Yeah. So he was slowly replacing his self, because it was so painful. Every time he's killing himself, he's just being saved. So he basically kind of just gave up into that kind of whole thing. After this, I'll give a little background about how the book did it and compare it to how the film.
Audio book. Listen to all 3 hours.
The film's more messed up than the book. The book's actually kind of simple and it isn't as good.
Oh, is it really? Blimey.
Yeah, it's not actually. I don't think it's that long either. It's interesting. It's one of the author's first books, though, which makes sense why it's not that long or not that complex. But anyway, so yeah, so basically he was making himself forget on purpose so that the pain wasn't so great. He could actually keep on living since he couldn't escape this hell, basically. And yeah, you are right. There was a moment before the newspaper thing, but I think the newspaper clipping was really the kind of point where
Capitalist.
yeah, because just before, and I just remembered it now, just before the newspaper clip, there was the part where he went back into his room and saw all the writing on the wall after we were just made to watch his whole process through writing all of that. And obviously that was on purpose so that we can understand that's triggering some of his memories to come back, even though he tried to forget it. Now, even though the ending is done a bit naff in this one, I do prefer this ending to the book. So in the book, so working our way backwards, in the book, that moment where you could say the newspaper clipping, the kind of
Does he knock out Antonio Banderas and then give him a vagina?
No, fucking hell.
no. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so that moment with the kind of newspaper clipping is the same moment. There's a equivalent to Zico turns back up. In the book, it's actually Alex. Now, Alex was present in the book when he raped the daughter. He didn't do it himself, but he was present. In the end, Banderas, I can't remember his actual name. What was his character's name?
Robert.
Anyway,
Let
Robert.
it
It
go.
certainly was not.
I was keeping my
What?
mouth shut for that one.
Okay, well,
There's been a lot of
Banderas-
name calling recently, so I was like, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Okay, Banderas. Just to get the association away. He shot and killed Alex, similar to how he shot and killed Zico. Not in the exact same way, but killed him, and they kind of, and then Vera, though in the book's name Eve, because it's French, of course, helped him hide the body. And from that moment, Vera in the book gave up. Instead of going, you know what? I'm actually going to escape and I'm going to kill him. He gave up and just continued living on as Vera.
Oh.
And it's like, oh man, that really sucks. And in the sorry.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, and in the film they kind of reference that in a way of him kind of saying, oh, we can live together, suggesting it, and kind of doing the whole living together for like a while until of course he's triggered. But yeah, you have that. The film on a whole made it much, huh?
Don't say on the whole.
On the whole.
Which hole?
On a whole.
No.
With dilators. No.
Oh, fucking hell.
Sorry. Oh man, it's terrible. What you call it? The film made it much more intricate and complicated compared to how the book ever was. Again, I do think it made it better, but basically the book, long story short, I think the wife had left quite a while ago. So instead of running off with like someone and dying and then him wanting like revenge or whatever for the wife kind of thing, I think she just left and then never came back. Unfortunately. So he was left with the daughter. the Alex guy, the Alex. Oh, that was it. The Alex, Alex and the what's the guy's name? Kristen? No. Tristan. What's the guy's name? The
Which guy?
Name? Who changed gender?
So because it was Vera, but and his original name was like Vincent.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
Vicente.
Vicente or something.
But yeah, it says
Vicente. So
Vicente.
Vimto. He feels
So-
good.
It's good.
tell you about what we talked about afterwards. So Vicente and the Alex in this book, the equivalent of Zico, actually did a heist together. And this was after Vicente raped Norma. And Vicente actually came to Banderas to get his face changed. Ask for surgery to get his face changed because he was wanted on the run. Alex wasn't seen. So they do make references in that way of someone asking to get their face changed or it's something done, but it's just different people doing it. And Vicente didn't realize that, oh, this is the guy's father. This is the father of the girl he raped. He didn't realize that, but the father clocked, he knew. So he went on the operating table, and then that's all she wrote. he woke up not a guy anymore. And then, yeah, it went from there. He kept in prison and all that kind of stuff. Though he did do, actually, before he changed his gender, I have to say, he did torture him so much more, like proper torture him. He didn't just say it puts the lotion on the skin kind of torture. So I was thinking like, or else it gets the hose again. Sorry, I was thinking about that when I saw the film.
is that why there were so many axes and sickles and all that weird shit on like in like weird like storage a basement place? Because
Yeah,
that was he was going to do some stuff to that person, right?
Yeah,
That's what
I think that was a reference to the actual book. In the book, he really brutally tortured. That's not a word. Tortured Vicente like properly, and only after like a really long time, or maybe a year or two, did he then change Vicente into a woman. So yeah, you didn't get this whole kind of, oh, his real mom is the nanny, or he had another brother who's the one who his wife ran off, and then the guy left her to burn to death in the car. He crashed because he didn't pull her out the car too. Like there was none of that, or the kind of, though I think Norma did commit suicide. But yeah, so they're similar in differences, but they kind of just took all the kind of bases and then developed it more. And they put their touch on it. So.
Yeah, this book sounds like shit.
It's a lot more basic than what this fucked up film is, admittedly.
Yes, it is.
Because they saw the book and went, nah, let's ramp this up further. We can make it more fucked up than it has to be. Which is, it's just.
We can make it more fucked up, but also more sensical.
Sorry. What did you say?
I said they can make it more fucked up, but also more sensical.
Oh, okay. I thought you were okay, I thought you said something else completely. All right. Okay, never mind. I thought you was going to say.
Did you think I said sexual?
No, I thought you said take his testicles. So I was like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck did you just say? I was like, dude, that's messed up. And I see Rob like literally just had a spit take. I was like, okay. I thought you were just being really gross.
But again, to be fair on the guy, the author, it was his first published book. I think his first or second published book. after that, he went on to be a successful thriller and crime writer in France. So he probably did get much better. But yeah,
France.
what?
Hmm?
What did you say?
Fucking France.
Mm.
I think oh, the thing that really got me about all of it wasn't even in the film. It was I had a look on Letterboxd afterwards quickly, and I just like scrolled through a few reviews, and there was one from a trans person. He was saying that like the whole thing about sort of a forced sex change and all of that kind of stuff was something that they wished that they'd gone through. And I thought, man, what an awful world we live in. That somebody watches this film and goes, yeah, that would be preferable to. Yeah, it made me feel really sad.
Preferable to what? You skipped.
Coming out.
Oh,
Man.
yeah. Nah, man. It's like people are weird because like this film was just showing like talking about the trans thing. I was like, because I remember again thinking about it. I was watching this film. I was like, is this what J.K. Rowling meant when she wanted to have like a bad trans person? You know, just like how someone just do this fucked up shit, then afterwards go and murder two people. Is this what she wants? I was like, yeah. I think J.K. Rowling loves this film. Fucking hell, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't listen to her.
What's up?
I reckon that she doesn't actually mean any of this, and she's only doing it to stay in the spotlight because her books are all done.
Well, I mean, she shared a platform with a Nazi over it, so you'd hope she meant a little bit at least. Like, if she's willing to share a platform with a Nazi, I hope it's not just to stay relevant. I mean, both eventualities are very bad, but
oh my goodness.
Either way, though, J.K. Rowling's a horrible person.
Yeah, I don't
another contextual link to Phoenix. J.K. Rowling, years later. Oh, no, carry on. Pat, why did you really like this film? I know you already said a lot, but you can say more.
I mean, it's something that's very difficult to put my finger on. Like, it's everything about it suggests that I should hate it. Like, it is disturbingly fucked up. I'm like, whoever wrote this, I'd really like to understand
mental state.
What was going on inside his or her mind to just make something like this up. A bit like with Old Boy, because Old Boy was fucked up as well. Maybe not in the same way, but you know, it was still severely fucked up. But for me, I think it was really well written. But for me, I found myself sort of just watching every scene that Antonio Banderas was in and just glued to everything he was doing, like just watching a madman sort of slowly getting worse and worse.
Right, yeah, he was the acting for him, he was really spot on because it's something about it, because like especially let's say when he was with his wife and he's just like rocking in that chair was so fucking creepy. But we know that in real life he's actually quite a nice dude. So it's like, oh, okay. That's like, I just see him watch that.
It took me a while to actually work out what was actually going on. Because like in the other chat, I think I put a comment up saying, oh, wait a minute. And I sort of realised what was actually going on. Because I was like, oh, this ain't too bad. And I was like, oh, wait.
Oh, man. I started feeling really horrible from like quite near the start, and it's where the tiger's mum has to watch him doing horrible things. I'm just sat there like, man, this is
if you had sat down watching that with me, you probably would have laughed, because I was like, oh, why is the Tiger King here?
Oh god.
But that's something I didn't notice until this version. It's like, am I right thinking that was Antonio Banderas' brother?
Yeah.
And so he was infatuated with his
Half brother.
Yeah, it's half brother. Okay, but either way, he was infatuated with his dead wife, and he saw the opportunities that she's back. I'm gonna rape
That's
her
why
now. So,
that's why I'm kind of surprised it's a French story, because I can't imagine anything more Spanish than, you know, this guy, Antonio Banderas killing his half brother in a tiger costume for raising his lady.
I mean, that
French
wasn't
ain't
in the
capable?
original book.
Oh fuck!
yeah,
That wasn't in the original book.
What'd you
So,
say?
I was saying, to be honest, that
What'd you
wasn't
say?
in the original book. So, yes, it is very Spanish.
Yeah, it's true.
To be
Like-
fair, like Pedro Almodovar is like just very Spanish, I suppose, if we're calling it that. But like a lot of his films are about like not to this extent, but similar things. Like there's always like issues with his mum and gender issues, and like I don't want to like prescribe anything. But I do wonder what issues he has because the same things keep coming up.
Oh man.
in terms of like the structure, it felt like, because where they were telling like different parts of the story, it felt a little Tarantino in terms of the structure.
Mhm.
Oh, I see where you're coming from because of like it wasn't again
Alex in
chronological.
pain. Like, not in terms of the
Fuck are you
storyline or
talking?
anything. Not in terms of any of the storylines and stuff. It's just how he structured the different areas of the story to where we got to in the end.
It's kind of like the stuff that Pulp Fiction was based on. It's like all the Giallo stuff where
Yeah.
it kind of starts at the end and then you work your way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get you.
But like for a film like that, I just can't say enough about how well it was written and how well it was directed and acted and stuff. Like, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. To the point, I rated it highly and I bought the Blu-ray because I want to watch it again.
Yay.
So I watched it for the first time, like maybe I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember at the time thinking, I'd probably do without watching that again.
The funny thing is about that,
Sorry.
me and Neb had a conversation going to your wedding, and she mentioned this film. I was like, fuck me, this is some fucked up shit. And then watching it, I ended up loving it. So it's like,
Oh, that's great.
Actually, that is the point. Alec, how was Eb when you were watching it together? Was she like super excited that you were watching it?
She just kept watching my face. She was just kind of like, you loving it? And I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is horrible. Just go.
Oh, that's just great.
what also helps is I do love Antonio Banderas. He's such a, I think he's quite an underrated actor.
I just like the idea that you were sat there going, Puss in Boots, how could you do this?
Funny thing is, I've not actually watched a Puss in Boots film.
Have you not?
Have you not
No.
watched Shrek at least?
Yeah.
I've watched Shrek. I just haven't watched Puss in Boots on its own.
Okay, fair enough. Better choice, actually, to be honest. So next film I'm picking is Shrek, I guess.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But,
That'll be one hell of a lot more fucking fun than this.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Well, I'm hoping the film I pick is a lot more fun for you guys.
Oh,
I would say it's likely. I think the only film that I've had less fun with is Antichrist.
Antichrist can go to hell.
No, I mean, like, I haven't watched Antichrist yet because
Quite
again,
Antichrist can go to hell.
well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Actually.
I'm trying to be as nice about it as possible because it is a manuals film, and you know.
You don't have to be nice about it. The guy who made it is trash.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Because I wanted you to experience what I experienced when my film friends, and a director showed me this as like some amazing thing. And I was just like, what the crap? That was just effed up. Like,
Well, it's gotten to a point now where I'm going on to Reddit, and anything that I see related to that director, I'm like, nah, shit. With no context.
That'll show 'em.
I just guess I have to watch Antichrist now because I still haven't watched it. I'm like,
Yes. Oh, I did.
damn. If
Don't
it's as
eat
bad-
anything 4 hours before watching it.
What you
Oh,
should do
fucking
is
hell.
watch.
There's
Watch
very little.
Antichrist.
There's very little redeeming qualities in story and acting and whatnot. It's just like
You know
loads of
what?
shock value for no reason.
You know what we need to do? We all need to watch Simon watch it.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I'll watch Simon watch it, but I ain't watching the film.
So
I'm
you
gonna do
need
it
to watch
fucking
Antichrist. Watch
YouTube.
Antichrist and then find the press conference where Lars von Trier admits that he's a Nazi, because that's the perfect double bill.
we need to just do it like YouTuber reaction style. I'll be like, okay, and oh my god, what the fuck happened there? Oh. Yeah, all that shit. Yeah, it'll be perfect. You get really drunk and just set up YouTube style. Yeah, it'd be great. Is it on Amazon or where is it actually on?
Yeah, I think it's on Amazon.
Okay,
I think you can only get it in standard definition now.
Like you want to see that,
Deal
like
breaker.
you want to see that in 4K.
I mean, like admittedly, if it's as bad as like Burr versus Python money, then I could still pay it. I'm willing to buy it, I guess, and just for the sake of it.
There's
I
one
would
scene that I
campaign-
really laughed at, but just one.
I'd run around saying that Burr versus Python was the greatest film ever made ahead of that.
No,
Same with Tokyo Gore Police.
Oh
No,
Christ.
I don't think it's as bad as Tokyo Gore Police.
No, it's
What
worse.
I would say, Simon's, just so you know, goes in, and this is kind of referencing to something Ben said. The film itself is like produced well, and the acting is actually good, even though there's messed up stuff happening in it. It's just that effed up, which is why Pat is like feels physically ill with it. Which is
why we're so surprised that you like this.
Yeah, it's also just it doesn't have necessarily sense to why it's messed up, like with The Skin I Live In. Just like how I was just like, this one actually, not only is it so well made, it makes sense. Like it has the structure to it. The Antichrist was just messed up for the sake of being messed up. And it wasn't really giving any kind of message, or technically it was, but you didn't even, most people I feel didn't know the message unless you dig deep into the film. It's just like, but even then it's just like, wait, you meant this? How does that make sense with what you just showed me?
And the thing with Antichrist for me was that, like, I think there is an internal logic, and I think there is like thought behind it, but it's the fishhook thing again. Like it goes so far into it, and like the things that happen are so horrific that you just kind of leap back round, and it's like the film itself desensitizes you, and you just end up being like, "Well, I don't give a shit now."
Okay, I guess I have to get a whole like style of me getting ready, campaigning. Let's go. Okay, ready to watch Antichrist now. All right.
Yeah.
so-
Also, it's one of those things, like in the film community, like in the filmmaking community, like a lot. I think most people have seen it for some reason. It like went viral within like the filmmaker community, which is why I saw it, because I didn't know nothing about this. But then one of my director friends and all these people said, "Oh yeah, you got to watch this." And then one of my directors / other acting or whatnot friends literally brought me, like, we're gonna watch a film. What film we gonna watch? Antichrist. Okay, Antichrist. Me being Christian, I'm a bit like, what's this about? It's just like, no, just watch it. It's amazing. It's great. I'm just like, okay. And then I watched it, I'm just like, what the I was sitting there when the credits rolled, I couldn't move. I was just like, what the did I just watch? I was like, what the is this? She's like, it was amazing, right? It was just like, it was effed up. It was amazingly crazy. That's what it was. It's amazingly effed up.
This film made me go out and buy a WD-40 for my garden shears.
Huh?
Oh,
It made what?
So I don't want to open up my shed and see rusty scissors.
okay. In any case, back to the skin I live in, and this version, and this fucked up film. So,
The foreskin I live in.
oh,
We missed an opportunity
Oh.
to call the chat the Fureskin I live in.
Oh,
The
no.
what?
The Fureskin I live in.
no,
We've
no,
got
no,
both-
that's too far. That's too far. In any case, this film's like, I don't know, like I cut you because like we've got to break it down. Like we essentially want to say favorite scenes, right? But like my favorite scene is who is the step brother Zeka? What's his name?
Yeah.
Zico, yeah.
Zico?
Zika.
Zika. Is his face getting filmed by the CCTV and being broadcast on the news? There's something about that scene. Just that scene was so fucking hilarious. I just couldn't help it. I was like, this is funny in this really fucked up kind of depressing film. That's the only funny minute to see him just like try to steal that big Bulgari like necklace from like the case. I was like, I can't fucking move it. It's like just seeing his face on that CCTV with perfectly clear image. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. Then afterwards, it gets into the really fucked up scene because he's still in his tiger costume and he's trying to get the keys and shit. And I was like, oh, it's only can get worse from here. All right. Yes. Yeah, I only got worse from there. Jesus fucking Christ. This film is so fucking horrendous. It's so bad. So it's not actually no, it's not bad, it's just fucked up. Is what
Yeah,
this
I definitely wouldn't call it a bad film. Like I think the production value is great. I think the score is really good. I think the cinematography is really good. Just generally the way it's presented, I think is great.
You
But
just don't like the subject matter.
it's not even the subject matter. I don't like how I feel at the end of it. I feel really horrible and like I need a shower.
at least he could be with his lesbian co-worker now, I guess, is what I thought. I was like, that's about as nice as could think about it. It's like, yeah, they're hanging out, I guess now. I guess.
So, like,
it's-
you
What?
finished it and felt horrible. I finished it and had some lunch.
oh, fucking hell. I mean, okay. What did you eat? You didn't just go, fancy eating some hot dogs
McDonald's.
right now. Okay, it's not not as bad, right? It's just like
Oh man, honestly, like it just makes me feel awful. Like it's just because I think the problem I have with it is that no matter who you relate to, it's a really awful person. It's like I
oh,
don't
thank
know.
God I didn't relate to anyone then.
No,
It's
I
just
mean like just not sort of like relate. Maybe relate's the wrong word, but whoever you empathise with, like it's an awful person because it's either the guy who's like sort of the guy who's living out his fantasy and creating a woman to do horrible things to, or it's the guy who is now trapped in a body that is not his internal image of himself. But the reason that he's there in the first place is because he did a really awful thing to someone. And it's like, I don't know, that's where it gets into like a bit of a grey area for me.
I
because
mean,
think
that-
it's like- I think it's really interesting that you've got kind of like that idea of like maybe this is what it's like to be a trans person and be in a body that you don't relate to. But also the person that you're feeling that through is horrible. It's,
I genuinely feel like the only bad people were Robert's family. So him, his mum, and his stepbrother. Because Vicente, it's very much a grey area because he's seen as raping his daughter, but it seems consensual at first before she sort of switched on him.
Yeah, but at that point, you should just be like, all right,
Yeah, he should have stopped when he
like
did. And he should not have hit him.
consent only counts if you can take it away, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's-
Even if she's butting his hand, you'd be like, look, get off her, and then she'll stop hitting you.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that
Yeah, but
scene
he
as
knocked
well,
her
where he's
out.
like, that
Yeah.
scene where he's like, "You raped my daughter," and he's like, "I don't know if I did." Like, man, don't know's not good enough. Like, it's-
yeah,
Yeah.
fair point. That scene was, I think, for him, it's much more of a grey area than Robert. I think Robert had. I think he would have done it to someone anyway, but I think he's just happened to be the wrong person doing it to a member of his family, his daughter even. And the fact that she's killed herself, it's sort of made up his mind that he was going to do those things to him. But then
Yeah.
I also question his surgeon mates who didn't actually question the legality of the papers until way after the procedure was done, and like just before he ends up getting killed himself.
But they didn't question it because they usually don't question it.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah,
Yeah.
they usually, he said, how many, when he said that, I was just like, oh, he said, how many people with like false records or questionable kind of records do we take? Have we taken? And you're judging me?
yeah.
It's like that in a lot of parts of the world where some things are legal. So you go to another country to do a certain
Exactly.
surgery done. So this is kind of that extension of that, really. So that's why
Yeah.
they were like, it's just another job. We just
But
snip here. That's it.
Yeah,
but
I think
go on.
I was gonna say, I think the main reason he was like he was there was that he wanted money. Basically, he was trying to almost blackmail him into opening up so they could make some good money again.
Yeah.
Because he was tired of not making money. He doesn't really care about him kidnapping this person. He just wants to make some better money again.
Yeah. But I think Robert, it was much more of a. I think he seemed to be suffering a bit of like mental torture from his wife. Obviously, at first leaving him, then getting into a fireball crash and becoming disfigured, and then killing herself. So he sort of tried to recreate her in a very, I don't know, I wouldn't call it demonic quite, but it's not too far off.
Well, I mean, again, this is the same thing what I said about the Galatea Pygmalion thing, because essentially he loved his wife, and like she was like perfect, so he was trying to recreate that sort of like sculpture, a model that was her, because that like doll that he was practicing the skin grafting of, I think that's supposed to be his, like, well, it's supposed to be his wife, right? And it's about as like same sort of like size and image as her. So he's like practicing his perfect modeling, like they were doing, like they were alluding to that when she was playing with like the clay dolls and making like that mark, that sculpture of the clay. I was like, oh, that's smart, because it's a play on the original concept of the Galatea Pygmalion thing. Hell, the skin grafting technique is called GAL, right? GAL, right? Yeah. So that's literally what it's supposed to be. It's like, oh, right, smart. It's like smart. It's like smart writing, creepy writing, smart writing. But like, yeah, it's like.
Now, Rob, you said this director had some other films that you recommended. Are they as fucked up?
Not in the same way. Like they're similar themes, but they're not quite as like. Well, I suppose put it this way, right? So this is kind of like. I can't remember what the saying is now. I can't remember what the saying is, but like basically, this is just the extreme, right? So his films always deal with like sort of feelings towards a mother figure and feelings around gender identity and things like that. Like to the point where you kind of look at them and you go like, man, why don't you just see a therapist rather than making these films all the time?
It's his second film, Odysseus Rex. Is what I'm saying, right? It's just well, it's just what happens.
Like I said, I don't want to prescribe anything, but I think maybe there's unresolved issues.
Well,
but yeah, it's always similar films, but similar themes, but yeah, nothing quite as horrific as this.
I know you and Alec were like, "Oh, I wouldn't go that far," but I genuinely feel it's a bit of a masterpiece.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's like I said. I think it's a very well made film, and you'd expect that from this director. Like all of his films are very well presented and very well put together. But I just, yeah, I don't know, man. There's just like there's so many bits that are like so morally grey that I'm like, I don't know what to latch onto.
Like, I mean, I guess it's the question. I mean, the main question is, who is worse? Who is the more of a bastard? Antonio Banderas' character or Vena herself? Because like both of them are kind of shitty people, but Antonio Banderas is definitely way worse. Yeah, because like I actually guess would the movie have been different if, because admittedly again quote unquote about the consensual part, about when he was with Nona with the daughter character Norma. Sorry. When she was with when he was with Norma, and like they were into it, then the song started, which triggered her, and then afterwards it went all fucked up and he like starts fighting her and he knocked her out. I mean, like there was the other group of guys and girls that were off doing their little orgy thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, if he went back and said, this girl is crazy, she literally bit my hand open. I need like, if he didn't just leave, and if he went and like tried to explain himself for a while, it wouldn't have been as bad. I think he could have actually. I mean, he would have got in trouble because there was a question of like consent, but he would have not been in that much trouble because it's like she attacked me. What do you want me to do? And the situation would have completely changed to me, because like the story is like the main reason why it gets fucked up afterwards is because Antonio Banderas' character tries to help his daughter, but the daughter recognizes him as her rapist, right? That's why she was in the mental hospital. It's like, no, I'm the dad. I'm not. And like it was a situation where like changed completely if he acted like a decent human being and tried to say, look, I fucked up, but she fucked up because she bit my hand open. And it's like it would have it could have been like salvageable in its own sort of way, because if he could like try to not be such a shitty person, just put on his jacket and like drive away on a motorbike. Yeah. That's the reason why Antonio Banderas remembers his character is like, you drove on a motorbike here. I remember it's you who did this to my daughter. And that's the only main reason why. It's like,
I think that's the thing for me though, because it's like with Robert, it's like you've seen this happen to your daughter, and then because of the circumstances around it, you've then gone to visit your daughter, and she thinks that you've raped her, and it's like, man, like as a parent, that must just be like the worst thing possible for your daughter to think that you raped her. So like I can totally see how Robert, I can totally see how he is got himself to a point where he thinks like, I just need to do the worst thing possible to this person, and that's that. Whereas the other guy is just a rapist. And where I think it falls down to me is that, that end scene where he's like, I'm Vicente, like, this is me, this horrible thing's happened to me. that's the scene where I should be going like, "Oh, good for you, man! Like you've got out, you've got some kind of life back, even though you've been forced to, sort of like live in this body yourself and whatever. Like, you're in a position where you can start your life again. That's the scene where I should be going like, there isn't, this isn't a happy ending, but there's an ending where I can feel something for this character. But I just come back to, well, this guy's a rapist, and
Yeah.
he never had any redemption. He's had horrible things happen to him,
Well-
but he's never considered what he did. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, like, you could say
Yeah.
his body getting violated is his punishment, right? And all that shit. But he never really, without making it sound silly, right? He never said sorry, I guess.
yeah,
I
like,
like-
all he
yeah.
ever said was that he didn't know if he did it or not.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I guess it's I guess if it's like I know we know that he remembers because he knows that something happened between him and her, right? But he never it goes, if I did do something wrong, I apologize for it. All right. And it's just like, no, everything he does, even when he was I can't remember, I don't know, because like it's so fucked up because this film, it keeps just going back to this film is too fucked up to think about it straight. It's like it's the okay, goes, look, I don't know what you're planning to do with me, but I've got the kitchen knife. I can attack you. No, you know what? It's like, oh fucking hell. That's like
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing for me. Like, I mean, I don't mind a film like making you feel horrible things. Like, I don't think that every film should make you feel positively. And I think a film that makes you question your morality and like feel horrible things is a good thing. Like, I think that's something that as people you should go through to sort of make yourself a better person. But I just feel like this. I just feel like this one wants me to feel sympathy for someone who I don't want to say hasn't done anything to earn it because they have gone through like a really horrific thing, and I think on any kind of human level, you are going like, that's horrible. Yes, like you feel something on that level, but I just keep coming back to like, I keep coming back to it, wanting me to feel sympathy for somebody who seems to have gone through this horrific thing without learning anything about themselves and what they did to get up to end up there. And I'm not saying it's a proportionate punishment or anything like that, because it is probably one of the most horrible things that you can imagine. But I feel like there should have been some reflection in order for me to feel sympathy enough for that ending.
Oh yeah. I in a way I wonder if you're not necessarily meant to feel sympathy for like either of them at the end, but more so I say more so just it just gets your mind thinking, because at the end of the day, the only one I think deserved any kind of sympathy even up until the end was the actual mother, because his real mom, she thought it was messed up the whole time. There's many times off camera she tried to discourage him from going down this path, this obsession, doing what he was doing.
You mean oh right, yeah. I was thinking which mother you were talking about, yeah.
Sorry, the Banderas mother. How she kept, like, even after it, and when she was just like, kill him, and obviously we didn't understand why she was just like, it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense, but we didn't realize like what this guy did, like what it led to, and all the backstory until afterwards. And then afterwards, I'm just like, you should freaking kill him, just freaking kill him. Why are you freaking sleeping with him? And it's just like, and it's the moment. It's the moment before they do the 2-shot. So when they're having dreams, and Banderas has the dream, and then you have the other guy have the dream, and I was thinking, I was going, wait a second. They're both having dreams. So this is just after he's raped her. They're both having dreams. Wait, is he? And then shortly after, they made it obvious by showing his past face next to his head. I was just like, this is effed up. I was just like,
That's when it all comes together.
at that moment, I lost all sympathy.
No sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. That's the answer.
Yes, but at the end, I had a lot of sympathy for the mom, because through all of that, she stuck through all of that. Yes, she should have told him at some point. Not that it would have changed anything. I do wish she had told him that I'm your actual mom, kind of thing. But regardless, she stuck through him to the end, even when she was just like, my son's doing some effed up stuff, but I can't just give up on him. Like, Zico is a lost cause, you know? He's so effed up. I don't even care if you kill him. Just kill them both. Just kill them both, okay?
As she was saying, there's insanity running through my genetics. You know, while she's rubbing her, like, it was like, that's kind of gross, man.
The phrasing of that made me feel weird as well, because she said it in like a really biological way. It was like, there's insanity running through my entrails or something like that.
Yeah, entrails is what she said. Yeah.
I think
translations on it is.
Yeah, I think in Spanish it makes more sense. I will say this about Spanish in Spain particularly, which is obviously where they are. Like, they have a lot of sayings that when they translate to English, it don't sound right. Or it's just like, it sounds very strange. But it's more like saying, they should have translated it more metaphorically. But yeah, it's more like saying, it's almost like I just passed down insanity. It's like it's in my blood kind of thing. Yeah. In my genes. I don't know what's wrong with me. She's basically lamenting at the fact that she's had this life that she's had, and the only two children that she was able to even give birth to are both messed up in different ways. Like, one's insane, one's crazy, and one's obsessed to the point of like, what the f are you doing? So
one has forcibly made somebody go through a gender realignment, and the other's got a birthmark on his bum.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just. But yeah, I feel for her, because in the end, she's just like, you realize she could just push me and run off, and she doesn't also put on the fact that she's an older lady. This younger guy this person, Vera, could actually hurt her or beat her up. But she's just like, I don't know. Let me just do my best. I don't. He's refusing to see reason, but I don't want him to go to jail. I need to do my best to make sure she doesn't run off, and let me bring the gun, and hopefully he'll see sense soon. And in the end, she dies for sticking by her son and trying to stick around until he sees reason. And that's what I feel for her, because the whole time she did not agree. Yes, she was just like, okay, you got your revenge and whatnot. It's just not enough, kind of thing. Just end it. It's gone on too long. You've even used them for your kind of stuff, like fake skin and all this kind of stuff. It's enough.
I think that was another thing I was thinking, actually, because that end scene where it's like the strangest shootout in history.
Yes.
It's just like a gun hiding underneath the bed, and then it shoots her in the boob. And it was like, and then she like collapses, and I was kind of sat there like, that was really strangely choreographed. And then the only thing I could think of was like, maybe because of the style of the film, where it is a bit like sort of like the Korean revenge porn films, maybe they were going for like the melodrama that Koreans do, but because it's not Korean, it just seemed a bit campier.
Maybe it was a reference to the telenovelas.
Oh man, it's just so weirdly set up. Like, but even the first shootout where Robert walks in on the tiger and he's kind of like asleep on top of Vera, and then he kind of like shoots him in the bum. It's like, just like, why are you shooting people in such weird places?
It's accurate, to be fair, because not all shots will always be like directly in the chest where you want it to go. It's going to be in like random places.
Yeah, but like right in the middle of a bum cheek and then in the middle of a boob.
Yeah. Or maybe that's the director's thing. He likes to do like those little fancy places.
Like I don't know, like just that scene in particular, like the shoot at the end. Like I was thinking, this isn't too far removed from the room.
Oh man, the room. The both to compare it to.
Yeah, I don't know, like. Yeah, it's a really tough watch. So I suppose in a way I'm grateful for it because at least towards the end I was like, ha, rather than just being like pure misery. But yeah,
The question is, Rob, are you gonna do the Alec and watch your film twice?
I always watch them twice. Well, I tried to watch them twice. But yeah, that's the thing for me, right? So I get the comparison to Old Boy and like sort of. I mean, in a way, there's like a similar spirit behind them. But I think with Old Boy, at least kind of like with the payoff, you're kind of going like, oh man, what a horrible thing to go through for that guy. And that's just unreserved. That's like what he's done to get there is in no way proportionate to what's happened to him. And then you've got the moral question of like, if you felt those things, what on earth would you do? That's the thing for me. It's like it's just like a huge moral question that you've now got to come up against. Whereas I think
in his place, you said.
Sorry?
If he was in his place, you said.
Yeah. Because it's another thing where it's like you can understand the decision he's made for his own sanity as well as anything else. But what realistically could you do? Like, because it's such a big thing to come up against. And just how do you go on? And that's the interesting thing with Old Boy for me. Whereas with this, it's another very interesting thing because it's like you've gone through this massive thing, and now you've got to try and live life in a body that's not yours. But I just keep getting pulled back because I keep thinking, this guy's scum.
Yeah. Oh, that was the thing as well. He. The thing is, he's probably done something similar before, because of how, like, even the way he was with Christina before the party. Like, he's probably done some stuff like this in the past. So even if he didn't rape someone in the past and almost did or whatever, he was already scum. Who's probably done stuff like this before. So like for him to do what he did when he was high on pills, like anyway.
Oh no.
I think this is the cue to say I feel like it's quite late now. I gotta get up early as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say, can we do favorite scenes for both films and then call it?
Okay.
Yeah. See, this is the difficult thing though, because it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Because if you didn't have that like thing about him being an awful person, if you didn't have that, then there's two scenes which could easily be my favorite scenes, and it's the one at the end that I mentioned where he's like, "I've gone through a sex change. This is Vicente." That would have been my favorite scene because it's like, man, that's. Yeah, like it just empathizing with what he's gone through, and now having to sort of come out as trans essentially. Like, that's a really interesting scene, and it's a really interesting kind of like take on all the kind of gender stuff. So that would have been one. The other one would have been where he sees his picture and then kisses it before he goes back in and shoots Robert. But yeah, both scenes are just so like I can't feel what I would like to feel in those scenes because of who the person is. So it's difficult.
All right. For Phoenix,
The Phoenix, well, probably the end actually, like the scene with the piano and the singing, just because like I was saying earlier, that ties up all of the denial stuff, and I think it's a really cool way to represent it.
Nice. I think for The Skin I Live In, probably two, probably three moments that kind of stand out to me. One when he's just like, "Why are you shaving me?" And then he's just like, "Good question." And then just it does this. It's just like we know what's gonna happen, but it's kind of just like, yeah, I'm not telling you, but yeah, that was a good question. I found it as a cool shot at the time when Banderas is looking at the TV, but it's the back of Vera's body is shamed like one of those paintings. And I'm thinking, oh, he has a painting like of his wife, and I could imagine that. I might have the same. Who knows? Maybe not on my wall on my phone, but like, okay, that's cool. It's like, oh wait, that's not a painting. Oh, that was quite clever.
That was very clever, actually. Yeah, you're right.
And I think even though I didn't necessarily love it, I think maybe it was the acting in a way in Spanish. I think the way it was phrased was just very poetic. Basically, when the actual the old lady, call her old lady, when the old lady was telling the story of how the mom killed herself and then the daughter killed it, like followed the same path and then killed herself. It's like she didn't just say killed herself, she phrased it in a way of, and I guess it makes sense in Spanish, but it was just poetic, the writing for those lines, it just, the way it flowed, and it's just like, it implies very strongly that the daughter went down the same path, unfortunately, and I'm left here just clinging on to, what I can, while still really missing those people who I really cared about.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Phoenix, I think one of my favorite moments probably, I think one of my favorite moments was my favorite scene was when they're talking with the housekeeper, and even with everything going along, like Lena is trying to bring some kind of lightness or humor into it. And the housekeeper's like, I'm tired of improvising. I've been improvising so long. and I didn't understand the context when she initially said it until after, like a moment afterwards. And Camilla was just like, oh yeah, they would have been on rations for I don't know how long. It's like, oh yeah, like this woman, she's trying to make the most with rations. Like, it's got pepper, like no pepper, no this, no that, no this. Is it sweetbread anymore? Just be honest. It's not sweetbread. It's just cabbage and bread. just leave it at that. But I like that kind of made me laugh and smile, that in this kind of horrible situation, there's still some kind of effort, and Lena is really trying to see something in this. I just kind of, it's not a favorite scene or anything, but I just kind of like the kind of light bulb moment when the Nelly is gallivanting in the night. And well, not the first time, because that was horrible. But when she eventually sees the club, Phoenix, that's like, she's gonna find Johnny in there. That's where Johnny is. And it's like, that makes sense. It's the name of the film.
Same font as the Lego as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know there was no point to do that besides, unless there's like some other reference that we don't know, but I can't think of any other point to naming it that otherwise, other than saying, hey, audience, this is where Johnny is before we see Johnny.
Yeah.
That's all right, Alec. It's just some favorite scenes, and then we're gonna close out. All right. Next.
It's good.
Favorite scenes, not comments.
I'll go then.
9.
Phoenix. Probably where it dawns on her how much of a shitbag her husband is, and she's sort of plans to sort of put an end to it all right at the end. That's probably the only scene I can think of that I quite like, because like I think because I didn't like the film that much, I found it quite forgettable as well. But
yeah, I can't say I enjoyed Phoenix too much, but I think it's a very interesting concept.
But whereas the other one is concerned, oh man, enjoyable scenes. This is a very strange one, because I wouldn't exactly say any of it is enjoyable, but I did find it very funny seeing Antonio Banderas walk into the room and shoot his half brother in the arsehole. There was something very poetic about that.
Jesus Christ.
Actual favorite scene. I think for me, my favorite scene is the moment that I realize what the hell's actually going on when Vicente's on the operating bed and he's told the procedure he's going under. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's what was that?
Alec left. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
That's what you realized.
I think, yeah. I was just trying to put bits together, and I don't know where they're going with this film. I mean, I suppose like everyone else has watched it has probably realised early on what's actually going on. But I obviously worked out when they fucking told me, basically.
To be fair, I think that's quite common, because when a lot of reviews on Letterboxd were saying like that they'd spent the first half of the film going, I don't know what I'm watching, and then the callback happened and it was like, oh.
But yeah, if I was to say, they'd probably be my sort of 2 favorite scenes.
Oh yeah, to kind of add to what you're saying about watching it, I know you found it easier to watch, but with the Skin I Live In, I watched the first half, and basically when it came up to, I knew what was going to happen in terms of like, no, he's going to rape her, kind of thing. And when it was telling the dream from his point of view, it took me an hour to get through 20 more minutes because I was just struggling watching this. And then I stopped. I was like, I can't watch any more of this tonight. So that's why I finished it today. was like, oh crap, I gotta finish this film. Look what you've done to me.
There's the fast forward
This
button,
film
right?
is so messed up. Huh?
You could always just press like, skip 10 seconds. Oh no, skip another
Then
10
I'll
seconds.
miss the film. And then I might miss something
I mean, that's
important.
that's kind of the point. You're missing the scene because it's like, no, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's just skip through the movie,
Skip
get
through
through
the
it
whole
first,
film.
then like I'm trying to rewatch it again afterwards.
Oh man.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think I already did my favorite scenes during the conversation. It's like I'll say Phoenix favorite scene was broken mirror scene, seeing her reflection, very artistic, very cool, a lot of meaning behind it. For The Skin I Live In, the favorite scene was when Zika was on CCTV on the bank robbery because it was funny. That was the only funny scene in the entire movie, which was, very dark and depressing. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that Alec did suddenly just leave. So, but I mean, we could ask him another time what his favorite scenes are.
Yeah, sudden.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was sleepy, and I mean, technically, I should get sleep as well because it is
To
kind
be
of late. I need
To be fair to him, he was up like 20 hours.
yeah, it was pick up soil and dirt.
Yeah, they're going around different parts of the UK collecting dirt.
All right, yeah.
He sold himself.
No comment. Okay. Anyways, so I think we'll did our favorite scenes and stuff. So I think Patrick, what is? Oh, you have got your favorite scenes yet? What?
I think the one that Rob mentioned earlier about what, or was it Marble Mail? I can't remember. I'm half asleep myself, but in Phoenix, one of the earliest parts of the film was really quite poignant, where she's like, I can't remember who it was. Was it the maid or something? Turns the music off and takes the vinyl record off the player, and then when she leaves the room, she's like, "Oh wait, could we put the music back on for a moment?" And they just eat together with the song playing, and they're just reminiscing, and she's like, reminds me of old times. I thought that was quite a nice moment in that film, just seeing what else happened in it. And like Rob says at the end, where you see her play the piano and sing, and then you see the scar on her, or the tattoo of her number from the concentration camp, was very, very powerful. So those are the two favorites from that film. The Skin I Live In, the least traumatizing scene, I suppose, like Rob said, the picture where he sees in the newspaper of himself as he was, and literally the final scene as well. I think when he reunites with his mother and the woman from the shop, and he's trying to explain who he is in a way that they will believe him, and I thought that was quite touching. How that was well done, how it was handled, and how he managed to just say what he needed to say for them to realize it was him. So that I thought was pretty good.
I've got to say, for once, usually when I'm seeing characters having to convince someone of something, they're saying the wrong things. I'm just like, why are you saying that? That's not going to help this person.
Yeah.
But this Vicente actually says all the most important things, ending with the one when they were alone together. And it's just like, yeah, she would actually believe you.
Yeah.
That you picked the right things. You're still trash. You're still scum. But good. Is that it? Oh yeah, that's it. Whose film is next?
Patrick.
Pat.
What's your choice?
film? Pat Anthony.
So
Kenny.
I'm actually gonna go down an Emmanuel route and pick a film that I've not seen before.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay.
I don't think any of us have.
not only that, and it's a foreign language film,
Ooh,
but it's unique because it's not a foreign a country that we've covered before.
nice.
So my pick is going to be RRR.
Cool.
You went a little bit Irish there.
I was watching
Oh,
Seamus, to be
alright.
fair. Royal Rumble's on, isn't it? Yeah,
Oh,
it's on Netflix. It is 3 hours 8 minutes long.
Whoa.
Oh.
Wait, what nationality? What nation?
It's Indian.
National?
Yeah.
Indian.
Yeah, I
Cool.
think
And it's
got-
actually RRR. Just
Yeah.
the letters.
or triple R if you
Okay.
want
Yeah.
to shorten the syllables.
Triple R, if you will.
Triple
Yeah.
X.
Yeah.
So it's mostly in its native tongue, but there are some English scenes as well. Apparently,
Ooh.
I've heard
But it's a
good
very
things.
well, it's a very much a change of pace from what we've had this week.
It'd be hard not to be.
Yeah.
So at least, even if they're not good films, they should at least be fun. Just judging from the
it's more of a
trailers I've
fun one.
watched.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So it's not
getting
Cape and
huge reviews.
Part 2.
Nah.
That's
Hey, you know me, I try to be the fun of the party.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, we haven't had one like that before. It reminds me of a film that is on my list that actually no, that wasn't Indian. That was another Arab film. Anyway, ignore me.
Okay.
Anyway, cool. I look forward to it.
Nice one, guys.
Sweet.
Shall see you all next week. I think we'll
See you guys in a bit.
Bye.
Pat, are you staying up for the whole Rumble?
No, the Royal Rumble match is on now. I'm probably going to end up
Oh.
falling asleep or something
No, so that,
after that.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm interested in as well, to be fair.
dudes.
All right, man.
See you guys in a bit.
See you later.